Okay, so I don't know if my mic is working. It should be on, I think. I'm not sure. Can you guys let me know if it's working or not? It is? Okay, how does it sound? Is it too loud? Is it too crazy? Like, it's a different mic than what we normally use, because this is my little snowball on my desktop. Oh, cool. Okay, cool. Hey, everybody, how's it going? I have background music going on. Is that too loud, or is that at a nice nominal level? Cool. Yeah, I do like this little snowball. It's really cheap. It's only like 50 bucks, but it sounds really good. Yeah, I wanted to do something special with the HUD, so I we came up with this idea a little while back, kind of when we were first doing the initial redesign for the HUDs. Let me see if I can adjust that then. Audio stream output, because I can hear it on my end. Audio stream output capture. Let me try and change those properties. I think I need to use this. Nope, not that. Let me change it to, how about that? How about now? I got something popping on there. Give it a second. Okay, cool. All right, is that too loud, or should I turn that down a little bit? Can you hear it, Jack? I might have it too low. That might be why. I am actually going to do a 14 commission. Thanks, Blue, for the cheer. I'm just trying to get like the things up. Yeah, I've had a commission for 14 for like a warrior, Mikote warrior for a while that I haven't gotten around to do. So I figured this is a good enough time to do it. I can turn it up a little bit. I just didn't want to overpower talking back with you guys. Thanks, Bennett. That's awesome. Thank you for the 40 cheers. Okay, cool. Yeah, if it's too loud, let me know. I'm also getting used to just kind of the idea of like, I've got two monitors going on. So I got my Cintiq that I'm doing my work on, which is, where's my pen? My pen's somewhere around here. So my pen's around here, but it's not using a brush. Yeah, so like I have my pen there, but I have to kind of switch between the two monitors to kind of see how it's going. I feel like it's quiet enough, not too intrusive. Cool. Sounds good, Jack. So yeah, I'm going to be working on 14 commission. Just for kind of the basics, this is a picture I took from my sketchbook. Typically what I like to do when I'm doing illustration work or anything, I start off with a little thumbnail. Thumbnail is just like a basic drawing to kind of figure out the flow of what I want the illustration to be. From there, then I'll take a picture. I find doing thumbnails is much easier in my sketchbook to get the initial idea. But then after that, I'll usually take it into my computer and do it there. I mean, I do traditional watercolors every now and then. But for the majority, most of my work is digital, especially when it's like commission work, because it's just easier to print from my printer. So this is actually for an FC member of mine who commissioned me a while ago, and it's going to be like a warrior fighting some Garlean soldiers, but it's going to take a lot of work to kind of get it to where I need to. And this is kind of like just my basic start at. So let's see. Cool, that sounds good, Darkstar. Yeah, I don't want it to be too loud. And I want to still talk to you guys. Like, some artists have a trouble with drawing and talking at the same time, so I kind of get why people don't do that. But because I've been teaching for so long, I'm kind of used to it. The only weird thing is it's usually easier because I have someone talking to me, so I can just not even, you know, I don't have to look somewhere else. I can keep looking at the paper while I'm working at the same time. But yeah, I mean, I'll keep checking back and forth between this for you guys is like, you know, just questions or kind of, you know, how things are going. But other than that, I'll kind of go into just teacher mode and kind of just go about how I normally do it. So typically when I'm doing an illustration, I'm always going to have some kind of form of reference. So for instance here, like I'll make like a folder based on, this is the character that I'm going to be drawing. I'm going to pull that window over. So like this is like the character like that he commissioned me to draw. So I'm just kind of going through like, okay, and I'll have these on a side screen somewhere. Like it's gonna be on my off monitor, so you guys won't see it. But sometimes I'll drag the files into Photoshop as well. Like for instance, I'm gonna kind of need this one because it shows his face. and shows his armor pretty well. So like that'll be a good one to kind of just have on file. And then in general, like then I'll make like a reference folder. I'll find like different things that I want to use, because every artist uses reference, especially like concept artists. They'll use it and they'll just kind of hodgepodge it. Like I have a friend named RJ. He does a lot of concept art for like movies and games and whatnot. And it's funny, like the way they're able to take images and like reassess them and then just kind of paint over them. I'm still not like there. But I kind of want to do something based in like Western Quarthus with the Garlean soldiers. So I went ahead and got some like different reference images of just kind of what I want to do, but nothing is super set in stone. And then I just got some images from 14. They had like a countdown thing every time a new expansion comes out, and I've always really liked the way they do their art for that. And I'm not trying to emulate that stuff, but just trying to channel that kind of creativity and go through there and figure out like, okay, what I want. I also pulled up some things like the Magitek Colossus and soldiers and Magitek Vanguard. Just trying to get a feel for like what I want to do, because honestly I don't really know. Half the time when I start an art piece, it's me just goofing around until I kind of figure out what I want, and just pulling out random different stuff. So I guess the first thing I'm gonna start doing is like I kind of have an idea for what I want to do pose wise, but it's not super set in stone. So this phase is usually just me setting my opacity down, probably usually working in like a different color. I tend to color coordinate like crazy illustrations, because just for the most part it helps me kind of figure out what I want to do with the characters, and a lot of it is just going to be kind of messing around and then going through and like figuring out poses and stuff like that and resizing. Oh, that's totally fine, Darkstar. Like, this is supposed to be just a completely super chill. It's going to be a lot different than what we do from our normal streams where we're a bit more active. This is going to be, yeah, just me kind of working through stuff. If you guys have questions about, like, how I'm approaching art, or, like, why I'm doing something a certain way, why I'm setting up things this way, or why am I doing what I'm doing, that's kind of what this is for. And, you know, I think eventually once we have more art streams, maybe they'll be more themed, where it's like, hey, you guys are going to come in, I'll draw some certain things, like, I'll take, like, requests for, like, quick sketches to do, or just stuff like that. But then sometimes it'll be just like, oh yeah, I'm working on something. I'm going to go ahead and stream and try and figure it out. Let's see. So I'm trying to give, like, the warrior a really strong pose. I kind of want him kind of up in the air, almost like he's done a powerful swing on these opponents that he's facing. Kind of want to get like a perspective look. This is just my blocking out phase, where I'm like, I have basic anatomy, but nothing is supposed to be like super on point. I'm just kind of figuring out like what I want in a general sense for the illustration. Let's see. Kind of figuring out the hand and the gesture, and a lot of it will be just a lot of resizing and unsizing, because even though he's the main protagonist of this shot, like, I'm gonna have things in the foreground, so ideally I'm gonna have some kind of exactly, got to get all those fell cleaves in Valentara. I think I have him doing like almost a spinning cyclone attack from 14, which is against Azael's good nature. Like, he does love his fell cleave spams. And this one's a little bit difficult because I'm not really sure exactly. It's going to be a lot of figuring out. I was actually playing 14 earlier today in between working on different art stuff. Working on like a little webcomic. I think it's up over here. So I'm working on like a little webcomic. It's not really done yet. I still have to illustrate like a couple more panels. I think there's like 6 or 7 more panels left to do. But I was actually spending some of that time working on that earlier. Here's one you guys will get. So like that's gonna be one of the panels in the comic. So like I'll publish that at some point. But I was working on this earlier today. But yeah, no, not that for right now. I'm trying to try like a different style. Not so much a different style than how I normally draw, but like a black and white style. But I was doing that while I was working on Blue Mage stuff earlier. All warrior mains I know care about the healing parses with Ace and Flash. Yeah, they finally got their big heal for the group, and they're kind of like, oh, I gotta use it. I was busy trying to play tank and healer as a blue mage earlier today. That was interesting. I had a like Sephiroth run, and unfortunately everyone bailed after one failed attempt, which was, you know, about how pugs go. That's pretty standard. And I'm not really super great at battle scenes, so this is gonna be like another thing. Part of like what I always want to try and do with art challenges, with any illustration, is try and do something I don't normally do. Always trying to push like, how can I tell a better story? How can I do something that I don't do? Oh, the music? The music is right up at the top, JJ. It's by Vixento, and it's like a 2-hour mix, but he allows his music to be streamed and all this other stuff. I use it for my demo reels. I really like it because it's super chill, but it's got enough energy to it that it kind of keeps on going through. But yeah, it's called Vixento. Let me type that in the chat. Vixento. So yeah, look up Vixento. He's got a YouTube page. He's got a bunch of stuff. Just the link that I currently have is not his stuff. Let me see if I can find a link though that I can give you guys really quick. Vixento. Hopefully it won't just like immediately, because you know how like some of these YouTube pages immediately just go straight into it. It's like, oh, let's play his music. It's like, oh no, don't do that. Yeah, this is his stuff, and I've liked his stuff for a long time. We've never used it for the channel videos and whatnot, but that's just because it hasn't really fit our kind of chiptune aesthetic. But I'm a big fan of like lo-fi and chill beats and stuff like that when I'm working or listening to podcasts. I used to watch movies and stuff like that when I was working, and I can still do that, unlike some artists. Some artists I know have a real problem like focusing when like a movie's going on, but I just haven't been watching a lot of movies lately, like at all. I mean, I watched The Witcher, but that was like the first time I've watched anything in a while, which that's great. If you guys haven't seen The Witcher, I think you should check it out, especially if you like the games. There's a lot of fun stuff in there. Alright. So I know I want a Magitech armor in there somewhere, and I want the soldiers. Alright, they typically use like the swords and the shields. I think I have one image of them kind of with that. Yeah, they kind of have that gunblade thing going on. I thought they had shields, but I guess some of them don't. That's fine. I'll go ahead and I'm really just getting like bodies in there. I mean, bodies on the ground eventually too. But let's figure out some of this perspective, because ideally what I'd like to do now is do some kind of probably just simple like 1-point perspective illustration. I want everything kind of just going to a point. You can hear my teacher Joko in the background just saying you should do something a little bit more elaborate, but you know what, Joko, you're not here. Nah, he was a great teacher. They usually have those lantern shields. Yeah, I think that's one of the things they normally do, and if you could get a reference, that'd be awesome. I pretty much know what they like, because like me, you've probably been playing 14 for so long. Just kind of, some of those things are just embedded in your brain. But typically when I'm doing perspective, like especially for kind of a background, I like to figure out my characters first and then kind of figure out my background later. I'm gonna try and take some iconic imagery, like I think that in the background might look cool, and then I'm thinking I almost want Ishgard, but honestly I don't want to illustrate that city, even if it's just a silhouette. I might still throw it in there. It's gonna be kind of like a hodgepodge, but I also like the idea of like a dragon, so I'm gonna kind of mess around with like maybe doing this underneath, maybe like they're an underground cavern or something like that with like icy walls. So I'm gonna throw that to the side. Maybe I want the perspective to be kind of up above. I don't really know. Like that might be a little hard. Maybe I want like cliff faces or something like that. Like we definitely won't finish this during this art stream. This will probably be like a 12-hour illustration, or probably like a 6 to 7 hour illustration. But, you know, it'll be fun. I'll get like the basics, I think, of just sketching it out first before anything else. And a lot of it is just being made up too. So like a big thing I'm trying to do is just rule of thirds, like what's going to be interesting, what's not. He's a big fan of Ishgard, and he really likes Heavensward, even though I tell him, like, man, Heavensward had a lot of problems. You got your rose-tinted glasses on, buddy. But in general, I mean, I liked Heavensward too. I think it was a cool expansion. It just, there was a lot of problems in terms of in-game content and the way they handle crafting. Like, I could totally add it. It wouldn't be too hard. It's just also like the geography of it too. Like, how much do I want to mess with it? How much background do I want to draw too? Is also another big thing. I think I can make. I think I want this smaller. Let's see. Like, I do like Western Coerthas because it is. Just, I always liked icy areas in video games. I always think they're really cool and desolate. And I know everyone hates Dusk Vigil, but I kind of like Dusk Vigil. Like, I don't want to run it, but aesthetically, I really like it. Diadem 10 out of 10 by 7. I mean, me and my brother used to call them Diaduns because you could like really cap super fast. I'll be interested to see Valentara, what they do with Diadem now in the future. I think Diadem has a lot of possibilities. They kind of botched it up a little bit, but for the most part, you know, it was interesting. I liked what they were trying to do with it. I liked Eureka as well, and I know a lot of people don't like Eureka. Yeah, so like I'm a fan of when they're trying new stuff. I like when they do like the current thing they have in the holiday stuff, where it's like the D&D, not the D&D, the DDR, kind of like beat game or whatever, or the DDR when they have in the Aeon trial fight, what is it, Suzaku? God, here I'm calling like a Final Fantasy X term. But yeah, trying to figure out this battlefield, because I think I want to have like maybe like a Magitech around there. He probably won't be yelling like this and cheering in the background, but you know, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it will be, because I kind of want him to be fighting off like a decent amount of enemies. Maybe there'll be like a broken pile of like Magitech there. Oh, favorite part is Stormblood. So I really like Stormblood. Eureka was cool because of Baldessian Arsenal. I never actually got to do that, but I was an 11 player, so just seeing that they brought Absolute Virtue back and the UFO was a lot of fun. I was just so busy at the time, I just didn't have a chance, and I was also a little intimidated to start that stuff. I can't remember what I was doing at the time, but I was definitely busy with. I was busy with something. I don't really remember. I meant to do it, and then by the time I meant to do it, like people were kind of already done with that content. Let me think. Best part of Stormblood. That's tough. I mean, I really like the main scenario of Stormblood. I thought that was really great. I feel like it doesn't get enough credit, and a lot of people just skip over and say, like, Shadowbringers is amazing, and Shadowbringers is. But so much of what Stormblood is a setup to it, and Stormblood fulfilled a lifelong promise for me in a way. For, like, I played Final Fantasy XI a lot, as a lot of people probably know, because I mention it probably every series, at least once or twice. But in Final Fantasy XI, they always promised a Far Eastern expansion. They always kind of hinted at it with Tenzin and other characters, and they're like, oh yeah, totally, we're going to go there at some point. And they never did. And my mains in that game were Monk, Ninja, and Samurai, and I really loved Norg, which is like a city of ninjas and samurai. I was like, oh yeah, I can't wait, this is going to be awesome. And then they never did it. And they still never have done it. They never really got to that Far Eastern place. Like, Ot Uragan was cool, and the Chains... Wings of the Goddess was interesting as well, but they never really fulfilled that promise. So when 14 finally had that expansion, I was hyped. And then also getting to visit Alamigo, like I thought the way they took the areas from Heavensward, took those basic ideas and then translated them again in Stormblood, I don't think it's enough credit, because you look at a lot of the Alamigo areas and there's so much lore and so much cool stuff hidden around in all the little zones of like, what's this, what's that, when was that used? Like, there's so much history in those areas compared to even Heavensward, which Western Quarthus kind of has a little bit, but there's not really a ton. It's mostly just desolation. Let's see, Valentar. I am one of the more well-known people back from my BA, back when it was around. Oh, nice. Like 30 to 50 clears? Jeez. That's crazy. Yeah, I wasn't so lucky. I knew a couple people that did it, but my FC is pretty small. We're all pretty casual at this point. We don't really, like, we have our group, like, we have like a one static that I used to be in charge of that still goes pretty hardcore. But for the most part, like, everyone's pretty casual, and we don't really bring in like new people all the time. It's pretty much just friends of friends at this point type of deal. But it's still cool. It's still fun. I still dig it. Maybe I'll have like a guy like just going falling in the background. Let's see. I kind of want. Maybe I don't need this anymore. Yeah, that makes it a little bit easier to see kind of what's going on. Coffee. Let's see. She still runs a day, but people are too bad to clear. Yeah, I can see that happening. I'm surprised people are still running. I feel like they have to continue to punch up Eureka and make it easier and more accessible, because otherwise it's going to be dead content. The thing that I find the most interesting is the fact that in 14, they still haven't talked about the new relics yet. I take the sneaking suspicion that, they're just not going to do relics this time. They're just going to like quietly just try and get through Shadowbringers like, we didn't do it. Don't think about it too much. Because here we are like 5.2, and they had like a trailer for what's going to be in 5.2, and they still haven't talked about relics. So either that, or they're going to recycle Eureka again and be like, hey, we just added like another zone to Eureka, and like you can upgrade your relics again, and just, you know, don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Or maybe it gets people to do Baldician and Arsenal. I don't know. Get them again. But the Arsenal added, like, I bought like a bunch of the gear and the tomes and stuff from that. So like I have my Curran's, I think it's Osode, and I have my Vermilion Cloak, which I never got in 14, but I did get it Osode. That's at least how my one friend tells me to pronounce it. I don't know if it's correct or not. Tells me, and like that made me really happy, because like, I really love that piece of gear. It was OP as hell back in the day. So it's fun when for me it's super fun when they had like Scorpion Harness and all those other things. So Eureka was a nice nostalgia trip. I think I have the AV minion. If not, I should probably spend some of my 80 million and buy one, but I'm also kind of waiting for them to make it easier. I'm pretty sure I bought one because I knew like, this content's gonna be dead. Just like the Hunting Hawk, which has now been repurposed into other content. Yeah. Alright, let's make you a little bigger. Let's go ahead and adjust your perspective a little bit. Just a tiny bit. And then I'm going to try and just weed you down a little bit. Maybe bring you up a little bit in the forefront. Yeah, maybe have like 3 or 4. I think I want to have some like different weapons or stuff in the ground. Probably some like spears. I really wanted to get like that, you know, like dragon or whatever in the background, but maybe I can't. Maybe I can have a frozen dragon. Like they have those frozen dragons in the background. I just don't know where to put him, because like I can stick him here, but he doesn't really, he kind of clashes with that. I almost want him to be like something subtle. That's gonna be interesting to figure out. Oh yeah, no, I got most of my money from crafting Valentara. But I've also had so much money for so long, Blue. But it's really just like once you get into crafting, they've made crafting so easy with like the new Ishgard and stuff like that. I've been sitting on like 80 mil forever. If I really wanted to have money, I could have like, I could be capped by now if I really put in, like, I mean, literally I could find a way. It's not too hard to get money in that game with all the classes that I have leveled up and whatnot. But you also really don't need much money. I have the nickname in my from my FC as Moneybags, which is a bummer because you can get that title from the Golden Saucer, but I'm never gonna get that freaking title because it takes way too long. I'd love Honest Gillionaire, but I'm not gonna do all those league quests. That's suicidal. I got art to do. I got other things like play video games and play the My Friend Pedro, which my brother so graciously gave me for Christmas, which is a lot more fun. I know Mike and Chris played it, but I only checked out like 1 or 2 episodes. I'm really digging it. I'm like halfway through it. But yeah, crafting is definitely the key, but it's also just one of those things, like, the only thing money is really good for in 14 is to do more crafting or to buy glamour. That's kind of it. Like, get your minions, get your things, like, that's it. Like, if they put a tiger mount for 80 million, I totally buy one. But they had to lock it behind doing all those stupid S ranks. I just don't, I can't dedicate that time. Like, every fiber in my being tells me with how much I like tigers, they're my favorite animal, that I should just go and do it. But oh god, it's such a time commitment. It's just way too much. I can't do it. Give me a $30 mount square on the store of a tiger, a black and white tiger like my Byakuo from my D&D campaign, and you're solid. Like, instant buy. Instantly will just buy that stuff, no problem. You don't you worry about it. I got you. Like, come on, Square, do it. You put everything else as like $30 mounts. Just freaking give it to me. Houses would be nice. Housing is also like a big thing, Valentara. Like, that's like the thing. And we have our FC house, which I'm allowed to basically do Animal Crossing with, because what ended up happening is we bought the house, but no one wanted to decorate it, and they're all lazy. So I ended up doing it because I'm an Animal Crossing nerd, and then it's become my job to kind of just decorate that stuff season after season, year after year. So I never had to buy my own personal house, though once Ishgard Housing comes out, I'm gonna freaking get that because it's a snow place, and like I said, snow places are the shit. So I'm hyped. I'll let all the anime samurais take Kugane. They can have that. I will gladly take my Ishgard spot, which I'll probably not get, but you know, hey, like, I'm still gonna try. I probably should buy a property now, but whatever. All right. So this is like what an illustration kind of looks like, for the most part. Yeah, you have no idea, Blue. My pad is very I like decorating interiors. I like doing it in real life. I like doing it in games. It's just fun. I got hooked on it when I played Animal Crossing back in the day. I'm pretty proud of how my room looks. It's very, very clean, but still artsy. And even in this small space, it looks really nice. And I've always just thought that's always a fun process for me. I do it for my parents too. Like, my mom will be like, where should I put this? Where should I hang this? What color should I paint this room? How does the tile that I picked out look? And I'll usually be the one she goes to, like, just for like reaffirmation. But my mom's also really good with color choices. Well, she wasn't great in the 90s when it was all about country blues and like polka dot. Like, she was really bad in the 90s, but now she's great. Now she's got nice tans and earth tones, and her style has really come up since then. But back when I was growing up, not so much. But it was also the 90s aesthetic, so that's not really her fault. One of the things we gladly left in the 90s. Alright. Let's go ahead and... that's not everything that's not in that group. Let's put all this in there. Let's lower you. And let's lower you. And so one thing I like to do is, like, my sketches, I don't want to solidify them all yet into like one layer. Eventually I will, but for now, this is kind of my go-to. Like, here's a sketch layer, and typically I'll do just a layer on top of it with the paint, with the bucket brush, and then just lower its opacity a little bit, and then I can just draw over it and kind of continue from where I'm going. So now I'm gonna try and figure out this silly Makote boys style. Can we post links in the chat room and get auto modded? I don't know. I think you should be fine. Go ahead and try it. Chris is not here. He's still, I think he's in flight to here. Like him and Jen and our friend Kevin went to Vegas for the weekend, so he's not around. So if you do get modded, don't blame me, or send them to Blue. Blue probably knows what to do better than I do. Yeah. And also, if anyone else has any other questions, just like, it doesn't even have to be about art, but if you guys got random questions you want to ask me, like, go for it. I am, you know, super open to pretty much anything except kinky stuff. Like, don't ask me that. That's not cool. And hopefully I will look back on the chat occasionally about stuff. Because, you know, sometimes I can get in an art groove and then, you know, I just kind of forget everything that's around me. But I like to think that all my years of teaching have kind of prompted me on kind of like what to do. So usually after I do the blocking out phase, I'll do my anatomy. This is just like, okay, what do muscles look like? I know it's going to be covered by armor, but this helps me out. Hey, Grinning Gamer, how's it going? Yeah, I won't kink shame anybody, but I also don't want to. I don't want to go into kinky stuff. So it's just not me. Chris, you could ask him that question. He'll probably be fine with that. But typically, this is just where I like start going into anatomy. It helps me figure out my perspective, and just figure out other stuff. They kind of look like Ken Barbie dolls with more muscles, maybe like WWE dolls then, or Hulk Hogan dolls. I don't know. I wasn't into wrestling as a kid. Someone name a wrestler. John Cena. Something. The Rock's cooking. I don't know. He's got a tail. And a lot of this is also just like stuff will change. I like to work super loose with my stuff. And just get tighter and tighter as I go. Just typically because I don't know 110% what I want to do. Picking up arms, readjusting them, just to get as much of a get as dynamic as possible. I'll go into like perspective tools and just, you know, how do I pump this up and just kind of like tweak it just ever so much to be like, okay, that's what I'm missing. I just want to like make this, you know, more upward. I'm not like my friend Champa. That guy's crazy. He can freaking do crazy perspective. Not me. I struggle with perspective all the freaking time. Get those Makote claw hands going out. Chris's actual main in 14 was a Makote Dragoon. For the longest time until he quit around just like a little bit. I think like 3.3 3.2 Heavensward, something like that. Something around there. Yeah, it was about the time he was building his bug, so he just kind of wanted to do other stuff, and 14's such a huge time commitment. And also first turn of Alexander sucked. There's no way of saying like, oh, it's fine. It's like, no, it was bad. It was bad all over. It was not fun. It was a terrible thing to lead. I hated it. People constantly leaving because the content was bad. Stupid Jelly Man. And even once you beat Jelly Man, it was even harder stuff. All right, God, he had to pick the most ridiculous axe. Yeah, Gorditas was just not fun. There was almost nothing fun about, like, the first turn was okay. And you're like, all right, two big crazy guys. That's not that bad. But then the spike up in difficulty and the way they change the content, I'm really happy with the place that they're at now for Shadowbringers. It's so much of a better pace. Like, they've simplified some of the systems. Like, they've made Anemone a little too easy in some ways. But at the same time, they've taken those systems and really just fine-tuned them to the point of where it's just like, come on. God, Azale, what freaking weapon do you have? I think he assumes me with these, like, blurry screenshots. I'll know what these are. I don't know. This is, like, one of the relics. The Anima Relic? If you know what this is, Valentara, let me know. Whoa! Wow, hey Strife. That's hey bud. I actually did the artwork for Strife way back in the day. How's it going, bud? I haven't talked to you in a while. I see like your posts every now and then. Yeah, apparently I'm in the Twitch game. Yeah, it's still one of my favorite pieces. The Strife banner was super fun to do. It still stands out as like, ooh, that was a hella fun piece to make. Yeah. I still look on that one and go like, yeah. Because TF2 was, it was one of the first games to really push that kind of like artistic direction in games. And I'm so happy that more stuff has become having an animated look to it. Because honestly, if I see another realistic shooter again, just count me out. I'm out. Get me out of there. I don't want to be there. Let's see. He's got some kind of like padding armor and all like that. I'm trying to remember how long ago I made that banner, Strife. Wasn't that like, God, that's like 4 years ago now or something like that? It's been 2014. Yeah, that sounds about right. I still don't even know how you found my art, but yeah, that was such a fun piece too, because TF2's got such a special place. I love those shorts. Everything about like that art direction was just fantastic. Let's see, get those pads in. Get this Makote warrior. For those of you joining, I'm doing like a Final Fantasy XIV commission. And right now I'm just kind of laying out the basics of what I want to do for this stuff. Like when I was doing the illustration for Strife stuff, it was kind of the same way. You just start out super rough and eventually it becomes, you know, as you've seen with that illustration, a more refined version. But I've got 4 years more experience, so I think I'm a little bit better, but I don't know. We'll find out. I wish he had given me a better screenshot. Let me find something that's his full... Let's use his full body. Let's see. Okay. That makes a bit more sense. It looks like he's wearing like the Alexander armor from the final sets of turns. Let me go ahead and throw that in there just so I have a little bit better of a look at this. And throw that down. And probably just taint this from being a smart layer. And go ahead and just get rid of all that shit. That's better. Ooh. The sketch of my artwork originally? That's awesome, Strife. Yeah, I love the sketchy phase. The sketchy phase is always one of the most fun things about doing an illustration. Yeah, there's so much energy and so much trying to capture like what you want to do with it. Yeah, sketch phase is always so much fun. Definitely probably my favorite phase. I like that and probably just adding color. Line work is kind of fun, but it's also just intimidating at times too, because there's so much precision with it, and it takes so long. But the color phase is great because when you start adding the color, every time I start an illustration, I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if it's going to turn out right. And then by the time I kind of do the inks and then I add the colors, I'm like, all right, it's coming together. And then despite how hard color is sometimes, it pretty much always works out. I think that just comes from age and just having confidence to just know what I'm doing at this point. And if you guys have any questions too, like those of you that just joined us, if you have any questions about like how art works, just for those of you guys that know, I'm a professional illustrator. And yeah, I've been doing illustration for a long time. I also teach. This is part of my YouTube channel where we do Let's Plays and do art and stuff like that, where I do all the animation and illustration with my buddy Chris and Mike. If you guys want to know more about us, you guys can go and check out the links down below. Every art that you see on the channel is done by me, because free labor. I don't know, because no one else is going to do it for us. But yeah, we started that about 2 years ago, and we're pretty small still, but we're having a good time, and things have been kind of bopping for a while, and that's a lot of it is thanks to the couchlings and that's what we call our followers that have helped us along the way. Let's see. All right, I think I want to do one of the Garlean guards now, so I can go ahead and just get that down. I gotta find like, gotta give him like, ooh, a pose in the background. Like he's just getting the shit kicked out of him. So I'll probably show like a little bit of his mask. I need to pull up an image of one of the Garleans. That'll work. So I'm basically drawing one of these guys with the weird Kabuto heads and stuff like that. If you guys haven't played Final Fantasy XIV, it's super cool. Yeah, I have a good time playing it. Let's see. Let's get that Scoober in there. I'll probably need to find another pose. Valentara, if you could get me a picture of maybe like a Garlean from the back, that'd be super rad. I'm not really sure how to do that. I mean, I don't have any like immediate poses of that on hand. Let me try it. Like, I think he's gonna be like almost like he was gripping it, but then there's kind of be like a incision or a hit coming from it. Just kind of breaking him up. Get those armor pads in. Fights are always super hard. And it was hard when I was doing Strife's illustration too, like trying to find a way to balance those characters in. That was like one of the first kind of like full commission like battle pieces I'd done in a while, and even though it's them just charging, it was very daunting at first. I knew I could do it, but it was something that was like, shoot, how am I gonna do that? I guess I'll figure it out while I'm going. Yeah, that would be great, Valentara. Yeah, if you could get me just like, what do they look like from behind? Because I know they got a head, but that's, I mean, everything has a head in that game except for the Dullahands. But let's see. They've kind of got like the armor pads going on. I kind of want him just gradually just kind of grabbing that. Probably, I guess let's get that arm in there too. And just start kind of clutching it. I almost want to give him like, oh no. Get those like crazy yells from Bloodstain. Ooh, and whatever from these kind of guys. Sometimes, I mean, I probably won't even end up using this expression for it. But it's fun to kind of like have that in the background for it. Is it very, hard to see them on the pig. I think, yeah, the weapon I think is Bravura, Valentara, but I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure what it's supposed to be. I'll have to check with them. It's not too important entirely right now, because part of it is like, this is so much of a blocking out phase where I'm just trying to figure out where everything's going. It's not too important what the weapon is, because that'll come later when I'm just doing the final illustration stuff. Let's go ahead and change this perspective. Oh, actually, not that. I want to change the perspective of the weapon, because I kind of want it to be crossing up the page and giving like a nice, kind of like, I want it dissecting the page almost, but not entirely. I want it to be going back in space. So typically I'll use this tool occasionally just to kind of figure out things every now and then. That's probably too much. Let's try that again. I actually kind of like that, because with every illustration I'm trying to figure out the idea of where my flow is going to go, and for the most part I like the idea of everything is kind of pointing to him, because I want all my eyes to go to that character. So I'm thinking I maybe even just need to do the sword as it's like, maybe it just needs to be pointing towards him. I don't know. I'll probably have other weapons pointing towards my main Makote warrior. It's 2 a.m. for me and I'm sleepy. That's awesome, man. Thank you so much for rating us. That's incredible. And best of luck to you as well, bud. Cool. Let's keep getting in there. But yeah, if it's 2 a.m., man, get some sleep. All right, let's see. I think I'm gonna draw that Magitech in the background. I think I'm gonna start kind of zooming in and just getting that big bad boy, because they usually have the cool swords and stuff like that. There you are. And I'm gonna be drawing this dude. They usually have a giant buster sword. I'm gonna throw him in the background. Probably throw like a decrepit version of that as well. So let's see. Let's throw you in there. You're gonna have just, maybe you'll be charging actually. That'd be cool. Maybe something like this, like your arms are up in the air, like you just don't care. And then I know they kind of lumber in 14. But I kind of want to have like a little bit more make it a little bit more dynamic in terms of like his pose work and stuff like that. Yeah, you're gonna have to go to like Mordona Valentara to get like really good ones of how that stuff goes. Let's see, bringing on that. Let's see. I need a good image of that again. Let me pull that up on my other monitor. That should be good. I checked donuts. Yeah, because like the standard ones you'll find like in Castrum Meridium and stuff like that. That's usually the standard of where they operate, and kind of where they're about. Let's go. Bring that. I'll be kind of operating in that. His legs are probably way too long. Let's get that big. Let's get that lumbering arm. There we go. And you know, I come from an animation background, so like I'm always trying to push the poses as much as I can. Usually get that line of action, really just get that flow. And like I said, that's one reason why I like the sketchy phase so much, is it just allows me to just play around, you know, and just really find the best way to express what I want to do in that illustration. Get some like ice peaks in there. Let's see, maybe some ice peaks around him, behind him. And then sometimes I'll go in, I'm like, all right, I want to get this bad boy a little bit more kind of taken care of. I think my DPI for this is good. Let me double check. 11 by 17. Let's go ahead and make it 400 DPI. I tend to like to work really big with this kind of stuff, because even if I'm not 100% sure where I'm going to go with it, like working bigger is just always better, because then I can downsize it later. 11 by 17 tends to be my standard. I think for like stripes back in the day, it was around that size too. And I can always change it and resize it later, etc., as I'm going. Let's see. I think this is the layer. New. There we go. That was the layer. Alright, let's save that. And then bring that down. And then just let me start going into this guy. Start figuring out his kind of facial structure. Very demonic, very much got those crazy horns. I've always loved the Magitech crazy guys. Ooh, app attachments from blue. Sensitive blue lip, other angles, cool. Let me see. Oh, perfect. That's amazing. That's exactly what I needed. Thank you so much. This is what they pulled up. So like, yeah, this is exactly kind of what it is. Like, what does it look like from that side? Which that's a great perspective too. I'd boot up 14 too to like pull it up myself and just like start standing next to him. But I don't know if my computer would be able to do streaming and that at the same time. It might be a little bit of a challenge. All right, bring this up. Also, thank you, Fire Food Dog, for following. I'm used to like having my co-pilot here to thank people when new people followed. So if I missed anyone, just thank you right off the bat. Thank you for following. Thank you for those that have you joined us from the rating from earlier. That's super awesome. And hopefully I can provide you with some entertaining content for the future. Thanks, Val. Super appreciate that. Okay, let's try and get those horns. And I'll probably stylistically change some things about the armor, just because some of the image quality is that I have in terms of is kind of low res. And also just the 14 illustrators get so much more crazy with their design work than I do. I like to simplify certain things and change certain things, and also that's kind of the fun of doing fan art. If I'm just replicating it, I'd find that it's not as entertaining for me, and it's just kind of a waste of what I could potentially do. So let's bring that in, get his little bit of collar, and this dude's got muscles. This guy's got muscles upon muscles. So luckily I know some anatomy. Otherwise, this would kind of suck. This would be a wee bit difficult. Get those biceps in, those triceps. And even though he is a magic man, well, magic tech man, magical man. That's Adventure Time. Hope I get copyright striked. He will have that basic human anatomy, which does make it pretty easy. Let's get that hand in there. Let's get that other finger in there. And this is the phase where I can really start like figuring out like, all right, what's working, what's not, where this thing going, how I doing, what am I gonna do, and just really push it. Take certain parts. Kind of got small heads, but you know. So like, how big do I want to make their spikes? Stuff like that. What's the hardest thing I've had to draw? That's a good question, Darkstar. I think the illustration I did for Chris 2 years ago for his birthday. Let me pull it up. I did a illustration of our D&D group, and that was definitely the hardest thing I've probably illustrated, because it took, oh god, it took so long. It was like a week of just sitting in my room like illustrating it. It was super fun, and I'm super glad that I did it, but it was bleh. God, it took forever. I will not be doing one of those again for a while, even though I do yearly ones of our D&D group now at this point. God, where is it? It's somewhere in here. Let me open this, and then I will open this in a new tab. And that really pixelated. That's really bad. Do new window. Documents. Let me find it in my illustrated stuff. So illustrations. Speaking of 14 stuff, this is a fun one I did not too long ago. Well, actually a long time ago, once it figures out. Loading. This thing is massive, so if it looks super pixely, there's a reason. This file is huge. It should load up in just a second while I kind of find that other illustration. Where is it? I thought I had it on this computer. Maybe it's on my storage. Let's go over here. This one was really difficult. So this one was of every FC member. Not every FC member. Everyone that was in my raid before I quit. This one was a lot of fun to do. just illustrating all my friends. My main character is right here in the middle, the ninja. And then the one on the very left is Chris. It was his character, which is his dragoon. Then with my younger brother, who was also in the raid, my friend Eric, my buddies, Vince and Jason, the good man Rauco. This is actually Azael's other character, and I'm just illustrating his new one. And yeah, all these guys were part of my raid. I still talk to a bunch of them. We don't really raid anymore. They still have went on and gone on to do other things, but this one was a lot of fun. It took a long time. Obviously, she mained Samurai. That's why I mained it in Final Fantasy XI. That was one of the big reasons. That's not the only reason. I've just always thought Samurais are just rad as hell. Let me pull that. Actually, let me pull that back up while I'm still looking for that. Ninja is typically what I go through. I like speedy characters. I've always liked Talon from Final Fantasy, not Final Fantasy, from Soul Calibur as well. So that just anytime a character is really speedy, I'm gonna go for that typically. It's one reason why I like Sekiro so much, or Sekiro, however you pronounce it. Sekiro was my jam. That was all about, like, had fighting game parrying time. It was about a samurai slash ninja. It hit every sweet spot, and he was orange. Like, game of the year, clearly. Probably game of the decade for me. I don't know. I really like that game. I'd have to go back, but it's definitely my top 10 for the decade, for sure. Let's see. View large. Let me just type in campaign and have that search. If I didn't spell it wrong. Ninja is, oh god, it's a lot of fun. I really like Ninja. It was one that I played exclusively in 11. Like that and Red Mage are like my two, where my heart lies. Red Mage and Ninja are like definitely, so when they added that in Stormblood, and maybe that's why I'm so ready for that, why I like it so much. Oh god, where is that? I found it on the internet, but it's not a great image capture for some reason. It's like really pixelated. Alright, let me try and pull that up one more time. Reopen, close tab. I think I have it on my portfolio website too. But yeah, this one took a long time. Let's go ahead and hit sign in. Yeah, continue, sign in. Why was I signed out? Oh, verification code, how dare you. Yeah, I gotta find the actual file because that one is that one's bad. That one doesn't look good at all. Is it under art projects? Not clients. Okay, illustrated. Oh, I've got so many folders and I should organize this stuff, but it's semi-organized, but it's also just, there's so much stuff in there. It'd be 2018. Biako. Ooh, I think I found it. Is this it? Composite. Pull this up. Please don't be something else. There we go. That's the one. Okay. So this was definitely the hardest illustration I have done to date because there's so much stuff in this one. There's so much going on. So for reference, like this is my character, the paladin named Kane. This is Mike's character named Krong, the barbarian. Jen's character Azura, our friend Danielle, our other friend Danielle, our friend Kevin, all the way in the background, the crazy bard. And this probably will unpixelate if it stays zoomed in, but it takes a while to usually load. Ooh, yeah, it's even chugging my computer because it's just like, what are you doing? Ooh. But I got characters in the background. I've got characters hanging out, going into their rooms. I've got the barkeep going on, doing his business. There's all this stuff in the background. And I've got these guys hanging out. These are different NPCs that Chris has created, like Sin, one of the merchants. I forget what they're called, like the Devil's Three or whatever, and not threesome, but Devil, like, he has a name for them, but they're a band of mercenaries anyways. And I incorporated those characters. I did this for his birthday last year, and I did another one this following year too. But this was definitely the hardest thing I've done. The cornucopia, my tiger Biako, it was a doozy. It was a doozy. This is the Siren Song. This is where like our main campaign kind of first started, and this after one of our first big victories. And yeah, that was a struggle. But this next piece I'm working on right now, it's gonna get to this level. It's gonna take like 10 hours. I think this piece took like, God, this one was another long one. I think this one like took 20 hours or something like that, just because there's so many characters, and all of them, if I wanted to, I could move them around and you'd see everything. Yeah, they are. Whew, they take a while. But yes, that was that's my hardest one. And I have some like stuff that's on a similar somewhat level. And it's great to know that I can do it, but also just like, oh God. So whenever I start like a big illustration, I get more and more bold as time goes on. I have to try and find ways of like, when can I cut things out? When can I, not do something? When can I do it? In terms of like background stuff, like, do I need this element? Is it going to be hidden? Because I have a tendency to just draw everything, and typically you just don't need to, because the audience is only going to see so much, because you're going to crop it, or I'm going to put it behind something, so then it just becomes superfluous. It just doesn't matter. Yeah. But yeah, they all start out like this. They all start out super, super rough. Just in the same way that, like, most of the time for the Couchling speed paints that we do, I typically skip this phase because I don't know how long it's going to take. Like, Valentar, I know you're talking about yours. Like, the Couchlings, I designed them to be somewhat easy on myself in terms of, like, being malleable and also just being something that is really easy to illustrate, and illustrate in a quick fashion. Because, even like in the quick format that they usually take about, 2 hours, something like that, which doesn't sound very long, but it adds up when I have to do recording and I have to do all this other stuff, and they're super fun. I mean, I really like doing them. Thanks, Valentara. I like where my style has gone. I still want to really improve. I want to get better at traditional art. I want to get better at watercolors, and there's always stuff for me to improve upon in my illustration work. I'm always looking for new ways to get better. Just, always trying to push that envelope. Every new illustration is just me trying to figure out, like, how do I make it better? How do I find a way, like, what have I not done? And I try and do that with the Couchlings as well. I mean, if you check out, like, the newest one on Patreon, like, I kind of went a little overboard, but they went ahead and they picked 3 of my favorite characters of all time. They picked Cloud, they picked Vivi, and then they picked, Link. They picked Link. I had to do something cool with Link and Vivi. Like, I love those boys. Picking Final Fantasy stuff, like, that's my jam. Even though 7's not my all-time favorite game, I spent so much of middle school drawing Tetsuya Nomura's characters. So much of my middle school their sketchbooks are just full of either Final Fantasy, Sonic Adventure, or they're filled with Dragon Ball Z. Like, those are like the 3 things. Yo, hey Achilles. But yeah, this is definitely my favorite phase. And it's the phase that doesn't matter. I think that's why I like it so much, is it really matters because you have to figure out what you're doing in terms of setup, but it's just a giant sandbox. And there's not a lot of like, oh, be really careful about how you do this line. Like it's like getting your cake. It's like, oh, this is amazing. This is a great appetizer. This is awesome. And then you gotta eat your Brussels sprouts later, and you're just like, damn it. When you're doing the inking, which I know I'm kind of complaining about it, but it's a lot of fun too. It's a different kind of fun. It's fun in the fact that you get to see the results of your labor and how you kind of set it up. But some days it can just feel like, oh, it just feels like a slog. 14 was my first real experience with Final Fantasy. You watched your mom play 12, but only infrequently since then. Yeah, 14's great. It's Fanart. It's such an amalgamation of what I love about every Final Fantasy. If I was to give someone to start, I'm like, okay, do you have some time? And if they say yes, I'm like, okay, if there's any Final Fantasy to play, I honestly think 14's probably the best one for you to play. If you're looking for the best solo one, I think 12 is the best in terms of like a great story. And I know some people don't like Vaughn, but Vaughn he's very limited in that game. He really doesn't, do too much in general. Like, your main characters are Balthier and your main characters are Ash. Like Ash, Balthier, and God, what's his name? Bosch. Like, those are your main characters. Van is just, he's the viewer. He's supposed to just bring you into that story. That's his whole purpose. Plus, he looks like Aladdin. And Aladdin's boss is shit. He gets Jasmine. What's not to love? And Jasmine's got a giant tiger. A giant tiger. That's like win, 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 win. Alright, I got this crazy axe murderer in the background. I think what I want to do next is I want to go ahead and get one of the Magitech armors, but have them like frozen in the background, maybe in the tundra, or maybe like I'll have part of their body just like broken in half, maybe some like wires. They've got weird heads. I don't think I've ever actually taken the time in all the years I played 14, which I've been playing 14 since launch, to actually notice that they had a head for these like weird spear boys. I'm specifically talking about these guys. I think this is the first time, despite owning the art book, looking through and being like, oh, he's got a head. Right. Yeah, I don't want to keep those changes. God, some kind of like weird dome head. God, the 14 artists are so good. God, hate them. I love them. They're too good at their job. Keep making awesome art, guys. Like, killing me. Some people can get really depressed about art. For me, I just always see it as a new challenge. Like, I think if you spend too much time on Twitter and just seeing all the crazy good art that people pull out, it's pretty easy to fall into that kind of debacle. And sometimes I can, but for the most part, like, I get more inspired to be like, all right, cool, crack the knuckles, let's get started, let's keep going, let's keep working. I don't have like huge goals anymore in terms of being an artist per se, but just I want to get better. It's kind of like what I'm now finding with like lifting weights and like getting in better shape. I just want to be better. I want to be the best version of me that's possible. And I feel like the same way about teaching and just kind of everything I do in life at this point now. It's like, how can I improve in the things that I like? And there's like 3 things that I like. One is drawing. The other is video games, which I've given up on that dream. I'm just gonna be bad at video games. But better at art and just be a better person overall. I think those are just the main goals that I try and focus on day in and day out. I feel like they could make a solid single player experience out of 14 Valentara. It'd actually be probably really easy with that game. I feel like I think 11 will be a test ground for that as well. 14's people keep thinking like, oh, there'll be like a new Final Fantasy MMO like probably in the next couple of years. I'm like, no, 14's doing so well. That game's not going away, and it makes no sense because the graphics still look good. The game still looks solid. There's nothing about that game that looks bad to the point of you don't want to do it, you know? So yeah, like that engine can be improved and like they can do new stuff, but that game keeps getting better and better. 14 I think is going to be around for a long time. If it still looked like 11, I would say like, yeah, you probably need to update it. Yeah, it's probably like on its last legs. But even 11 I think still is pretty good. Like, it's dated. Don't get me wrong. It's still a dated looking game, but I do think it still has some of the strongest art direction of any RPG I've played. So like my brother got me like the Final Fantasy XI art book for my birthday earlier this year. God, I loved going through that. That game is such a huge inspiration for me in terms of like art direction. And one reason I also like 14's art direction too is it's by I think you pronounce it Ahiko Yoshida, who did the work for Tactics Ogre, Final Fantasy Tactics, Final Fantasy XII. God, I love his stuff. When I think of someone that I want to aspire to be art wise, like he is one of them. Like him and Akira Toriyama in terms of like Japanese illustrators, they are like, oof, they're my meta, they're my zenith, they're my like, ooh god, yeah, that's what I aim for. Akira maybe not so much an aesthetic anymore in terms of look, but in terms of like the way he draws machinery and just his boldness and how well he is just as a draftsman. I kind of feel that way about the guy that draws Naruto, Kishimoto, as well. Like I always found like him really interesting because he was so bold with his background, and a lot of different some manga, like Oda does a lot of background work, but a lot of like manga artists don't do a ton of background stuff, mostly just because it's freaking hard. Like being a manga artist already is such a like daunting task. It's like, you want me to draw backgrounds as well? And Kubo's like, no, I'm just gonna draw characters really, really well, which, you know, the guy from Bleach, yeah, he can do that. He's a great illustrator. Biggest reason to make a new one would be the spaghetti code from 1.0. I mean, yeah, but that's always going to happen. Like, you're always going to get to a point when you're making a video game that the programming is going to get so far away from the people that first started on the project, and programming is such like is so specific to who is writing it and who is working on it. You're always going to run into those issues. Yeah, I think Yoshi P just said that hit the halfway point with the story for Heidelin and Zodiac. I can see that. I also just think that, like, in terms of 14's story, we're going to reach the end of the Asians. I would like to think this is like the end of the Asians, but I think there might be more with Heidelin and Zodiac as well, but I honestly don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm loving where the story is going. Shadowbringers, it does everything I want in a Final Fantasy game. It's got just enough corniness, but it's got enough of that old school vibe. Because one thing I've missed since, like, one reason I didn't like 13 so much is just it'd gotten so science fiction that it kind of started losing a little bit of what I loved about Final Fantasy. And that's not to say 13 didn't have any good parts to it. I thought some of the story direction was interesting. I think it was not that greatly executed, maybe due to translation. I don't know. But overall, like, 13 just did not do it for me. There was a lot of stuff. I mean, cutting out the victory theme was already like a huge, like, why would you do this? Why? This is the staple. This is the thing to keep. This thing we never want to get rid of. All right, let's add some foreground stuff. Probably some like snow and stuff. Maybe this will just be dust clouds. I'm not really actually quite sure yet. I am liking where this illustration is going. I did this thumbnail probably about, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. I've just been so busy with Christmas and the holidays. Like, I'm sure everybody else has around here too, that I haven't really been able to get to it. I was also just kind of saving it for this. Yeah, spaghetti code is super hard to make not to make unintentionally. Yeah, Blue. My brother's a programmer, and my other brother has like studied some programming. He's in analytics more now than he was that. But I have such a huge respect for programmers because it's such a hard job, and like you're facing deadlines. You're trying to make things work. You're trying to get this to be cohesive and just get the project rolling and get the project out there and get it to be where it needs to be, because other people in the pipeline have to do stuff. So the tools have to be ready and you have to be able to get that shit done. But sometimes, like, you have to throw out code and you're like, okay, this is good, but you're almost building like a leaning tower. And while it may seem fine at one point, hundreds of years later, oh shoot, because we dug underground and didn't secure the base below it, like the foundation, it's now doing all these crazy things and it's starting to lean over and start to tip top. And then you'll start adding layers and trying to weight other sides and try and fix the leaning tower's problem at Pisa. But no matter what you do, like, the problem is all the way at the base, and all you can really do is just make minor adjustments to hopefully maybe keep it intact. And part of that is like 14 had like the dev team that started from 11, but they were still doing like really old hat ideas. And as much as I love 11, there's a lot about 14 that I prefer in terms of what they've done since, because 11 has a lot of stuff that I love about it. It's exploration, it's story content, But there's a lot of stuff that's just, it's bad and outdated. Like, I don't want to grind for, you know, 90 hours. As much as I love that too, like, because the friendships and stuff that I formed and bonds that I made in that game, I've replicated them somewhat, but not to the same extent. Like, you really had to work with other people and you built reputations. It was like being in a small town. It's crazy. That game was so much fun, but I would never be able to do it again. And I love that Yoshi understands that. Yoshi P being the producer of 14, he understands that, hey, people don't have a lot of time anymore. There's so much stuff that's demanding other people, and I really respect the fact and love the fact they've made an MMO that, even with my hard schedule, I can still do it. I can still play, I can still compete, I can still do the majority of the content and still feel like, you know, this is worth my money. And some games just don't do that. Some games just fail to meet that expectation. Test Your Might Fights. I'm new to the art section here on Twitch, and a friend of mine told me to do commission work on here. I'm looking for someone who can create a custom logo for a fighting game tournament banner. I mean, you could email me. I can type it in and you can discuss it with me later. I've done one for Strife. I've done stuff for a bunch of other people. You can email me at there if you'd like to ask me more about it. I love fighting games. So that sounds like fun. Like, I'm into Dragon Ball Fighters. I like Street Fighter. A big fan of Bangus's artwork from Marvel's Capcom 2. Fighting games are one of the first games like I really got into when I was a kid, just because I really liked the artwork of Street Fighter. And all those Japanese illustrations. I'm excited for Guilty Gear, the new one. I'll be interested to see what that does. Yeah, I do. Let me see. I think I pulled that off. Give me 1 second. I closed a bunch of that stuff, but this will load. So, like, this is an illustration that I did not too long ago. This is about a year ago. This would be very expensive, but this is like the quality level of my artwork. It'll take a little bit for it to finish off, but you can also go to, let me give you a link. I'll just go ahead and link my website. So let me type it in and get you the right one. So Alright, and that's not it. Where are you? There you are. Yeah, if you want to go ahead and check it out, that's my portfolio. If you like my stuff, if you want to email me, doing a banner probably costs around like 60 to 80, depending on how complex it is. If it's super simple, maybe like 40 to 50 USD. But yeah, if you want to check it out, that's a link to my portfolio. There's a bunch of stuff there. Go ahead and go crazy. And then yeah, go ahead and email me at that email, or the email that's attached to the about page on my portfolio, for even more stuff. Like that's that'll link you to like my professional email and stuff like that. Let's see. Let's give him that gun blade. I want to almost feel like this guy needs the shield on, and just have him like falling back with his hand, and then maybe like his sword is flying away. I think 4 people's enough though. I don't think I need any more, because I think if I do any more, it's just gonna get too complicated. I'll have like a broken sword here or something like that, and then have like part of it in the ground or something. Add more character, maybe some like, maybe not arrows, but some spears maybe. Don't really want them going up towards his junk, but you know, things can be changed. Maybe not. Maybe he wants spears to be towards his junk. Who knows? It's a warrior. Maybe they're into that stuff. Let's see. But yeah, the new Guilty Gear Darkstar. I when I first saw that trailer, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe that was not was not 2D. I looked at it, I was just like, oh wow, that's really cool. And then the camera shifts. It's like, what the fuck? And that tech is amazing. There's a cool GDC talk about Guilty Gear and how they created that. Let me think. There's a really good animation channel called New Frame Plus. He does a really good breakdown of it. Let me see if I can find that for you guys because, oh man, it's so good. It's oh god, it's so good. I love animation breakdowns. He also does one on Hollow Knight as well. He's a professional animator. I think he worked for Blizzard for a little while. But you guys should check his shit out. If you like animation, you like art, and you want to know how stuff works, it doesn't get much better than him. I'd share it on the stream, but I don't know how that works, and I don't want to get like in trouble for it. So until I know Sajam and stuff like that do it. Dan is also good. Dan Root is also, but this is another one. I forget what Dan Root's animation channel is. It's different though. That one's a good one. If you want to post that one, Blue, you can post that as well. Valentara, I might give you an email sometimes. Actually, can I ask for a 14 commission from my girlfriend? Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah, no worries, Valentara. I understand. Like, I'm really cool with that stuff. Like, you can always just shoot me the idea too, and we can kind of get the ball rolling. And then when you have like the cash for it, we can go in and like get it illustrated. Oh, who's the other Dan? Are they both named Dan? God, they might both be Dan. Named Dan. Dan Animation. Let me see if I can find it. I'm pretty sure his name is Dan. Animation channel. Not Jaden Animations. I mean, she's good too. Of running animation. Maybe that'll pull it up. Here we go. Video game animation study is the other one. This one is by Dan Root. This is my other favorite animation channel. He does superb analysis on that kind of stuff. God, I love his breakdowns. He does a good one on Metal Slug, which is something we just played on Twitch not too long ago. He did one on he did one on Cuphead. Yeah, he did one on Cuphead. He did one on Dust Force, another great animated thing. Mega Man 11. He's fantastic. He's got really great stuff. The talk that I mentioned was given by Juan C. Motomura. Yes, I believe that was his name. There's a cool GDC talk about him. Yeah, I still need to watch the whole thing. It's like, I've watched breakdowns of it. I think I watched like 30 minutes of it. This is a link to that. Yeah, it's great. GDC would be so cool to go to, but it's so expensive. I live right by where they do all that stuff too, but I don't want to pay the $200 for entry fee, and I don't work for a company that'll send me. So I think my brother's gone once. I think he went back in the day. But yeah, not me. I wonder when Jin and Chris are going to be back. I know they're flying, but yeah, you really should, Darkstar. I think you'll really dig it. They're my favorite animation channels just because they have a lot of great presentation. They really care about that stuff. I mean, they're animators, but not every animator is great at UI design or graphic design. Sometimes they just specialize in one or two things. But for the most part, yeah, like their presentation it's top notch. It's really good. All right, let me find a good picture of this dragon. Where's that dragon? Find that. Not there. How about that's the one I want. Oof, poor boy all stringed up by his neck. I don't know how the Shikarians transport all those giant chains, or why they're making effigy that way, or brutal. Just brutal. Just steal the money. Steal the money from what? Need more angles of pick. No, this is, I don't really need more picks on that. If you want to give me picks though on like More Western Quarthus, though, that'd be cool too. I'm gonna kind of make this dragon up to a little bit. It doesn't really matter too much how this one looks. I do want it to be a little bit, but part of it will probably end up also just being, most of this will just be in silhouette too, for the most part, because it is gonna be so far back. This one is probably just, you know, I'm just gonna make a dragon up. I just kind of want to loosely base it on Final Fantasy XIV because, well, it is a Final Fantasy XIV commission, so it's kind of important. I don't think I'll do this stuff when it comes to couchlings though, just because when I'm doing one of those, because it is speed paint stuff, it's such a focus hour. Like I try and knock them out in like 2 hours. So because of that, I probably won't do that for that, but I think I'd like to do more art streams in the future when I'm like working on commissions. We don't have like a set date for this type of stuff. But yeah, depending on how much you guys enjoyed this one, you know, like I said, it's very much supposed to just be kind of me talking, us chilling, asking questions, you know, very different from what we normally do. But also kind of a nice reprieve because it forces me to be like, oh yeah, you should draw stuff, Sam. Even though I've been drawing most of the day, it's like, you should draw more. Some people say it's an obsession. I just say, well, yeah, it's an obsession. But it's a problem I'm more than willing to have. Let's get those wings in. I love Western Quarthus so much. I was there doing some hunts earlier today. It's just got a cool flavor to it. It's so much fun. Like, I mean, there's death and dead things all around, and everything's trying to murder you. But you know, besides that, it's great. We'll be able to share. Oh yeah, no, I'll totally share it on the Discord. Once I have the final product. I'll probably do another, like, the art streams might be more infrequent. Maybe I'll just stream all of this while I'm working on it. I don't know. Maybe I'll save it because probably after like I finish streaming tonight, I'll probably either work on I might work on this webcomic that I was working on a little bit more. I might illustrate 1 or 2 of those more panels. I would like to get it done before the end of the year. But I might play some 14 too. I don't know. I also have to feed the dogs at some point, but it just kind of depends on when Chris and Jen get back. So there might be a minor break before during like this art stream. So Fox and Zoe usually get fed in like about a half an hour from now, but I thought that Chris and Jen were gonna be home, so I was just kind of waiting on that, but I don't know. I think I need almost like a spire of like ice and rocks over there. But God, man, I love 14's art direction. It's so good. It's so good. And so is this music by Vicento. I really love how chill it is. Alright. I wonder if I need, like... Nah, I think that'll work. Yeah, how is everyone doing, Velada? I'm doing okay. How about you? Doing alright. Not too bad. I'm getting to draw. And, you know, that's always a good time. I'm always happy when I'm drawing. It's definitely something that keeps me going day after day, week after week. There's always something to improve upon. Maybe like ice clusters there, snowy mountains. Might need to do this on a separate layer. One of the things that always struck out to me with 14 was that first, for Realm Reborn, like I tried to get into 1.0, but I didn't have the computer at the time, and it was bad. But I probably would have still played it if I had a computer that would have allowed me to. But I remember one of the things that stuck on me the most about Realm Reborn is just when the King Behemoth just roars in the background. And the Ishgard Ice Place is like, yes, Yes, get me there. Get to fight King Behemoth? Hell yeah. Which, I can't even remember the last time I killed that guy. I'm not even sure people spawn him anymore. I'm not even sure how you spawn that guy. Because he was like a 24-hour fate, but I guess you probably can solo him at... No, it's synced. So I guess you probably can't. Whoa! Thanks, Velada. Thanks for subscribing with Twitch Prime. That's awesome. Try to find him in the Stormblood? Yeah. It's definitely one of those content where it's like it's in the middle of nowhere. Like I would say, like if you see it pop up in 14, you just got to make a party finder and hope that you can get like enough people. There's other ways I think to learn that loot now, and they've done a good job in 14 of repurposing old content. It just happens with MMOs. Like as soon as a new zone gets released, like the old ones kind of typically die. But that's, I think 14's only big glaring problem is just the way that it handles old zones. You crafted everything in the crafting log, Valentara? Jeez. I had to yell in every Hunt Link show to get like 10 people to come out. I would have come and helped, but we're on different servers. Yeah. Also, does like I had to go for like a scrolling log for like the HUD in terms of like newest couching. Is the scroll at a good speed, guys, or do you think I should up it faster? I would have done what Chris does with the normal setup, but it's kind of too hard to maintain that look because I wanted to have like the couchings at the bottom and kind of give that more cinematic feel. Yeah, the biggest issue is definitely the character limit in terms of that kind of stuff. So I know there's still more tweaking that I need to do with it. I didn't have a chance to go over it with Chris because, you know, he's not here. He's either in flight right now or he is on his way here. I don't know. Not sure. I could text him. I might do that. Let's see what his time, like what time he gets back, just so I know if I have to go feed the dogs. Because like if he's gonna be here in like 20 minutes, like it'll be good. Let's see. Time to bug Chris. What is your ETA tonight? Have it faster, Jack? Okay. How do you like the layering? How do I layer and group everything? So typically when I'm kind of going about this, I'll typically, like, let's kind of go back. So when I'm doing this stuff, first thing that I like to do is like do like the rough sketches like you guys saw at the beginning of the stream. And I'll kind of have them all in separate layers for the most part while I'm sketching. Like I do them based by like character or objects or different stuff. I'll label them if necessary, but when I'm this far in the illustration, this will become like, this is like my base sketch. And like I said, I like to do a thumbnail first, which is, let me pump that up. This is the initial drawing I did. And this is just to evoke the feeling, the idea, and the essence of my sketchbook of what I wanted to do with the illustration. Like, and it's all just super rough. I was like, okay, warrior character there, guy swinging the sword here, randomized stuff in the background. I don't know. And then I'll take it to that, which is just like the digital version. And I typically just group them out. Like this is my foreground and this is my background. And then now I have like this group 3, which is my other layer. Typically, I just kind of like build and build and build and build and build, and eventually I'll just sync them all up into one layer. Like I'll just do Control E and it'll make it into one layer when I don't really need it anymore. Which at this point I pretty much will do that with these two because it doesn't really matter. I'll still keep these separate just so I can kind of look back and be like, all right, where is this going? But like for instance for this one, it's getting kind of messy, but I keep them all separate as like characters and whatnot, so I can do things like this. I'm like, all right, I don't want to tangent here. I don't want to tangent between my Magitech and my warrior. And a tangent is just where two lines are intersecting at like at a point. So like, for instance, I have like a line here that's going like this, and then I have a line that directly goes into that. Sometimes you can make that work, but basically I don't want the tip of this axe falling into this area too much. I want to find a way of illustrating that in a point where it looks visually nice and doesn't look like it's gonna be, you know, kind of in the way. Like, and this is also the point of this phase 2 is just to figure out, you know, what's gonna be covered up, what's gonna still be in the zone, what is still going to need to be illustrated, and what is not. And that can change and will change as we go. But typically when I get to like around this phase, I'll throw another layer. Think of it like tracing paper. I'll throw tracing paper on top of it, which is just usually a flat white layer, and then I'll lower its opacity so I can still see where all my layout is. I can still see where everything is going per se, but I'm not super worried about details yet. Like, this is all still rough phase. Like, I'll still do like probably like 4 or 5 more passes before I kind of get into like really start doing the ink work and really add colors and stuff like that. It's probably like another 2 hours before I kind of get into that. Well, it looks like Chris and Jen are gonna be home in about like 45 minutes, so I don't have to stop to feed Fox and them. They should be fine. They'll be good. All right, so I was working on that dragon, and let's see, one of the layers was filtered. No, that's just where I wanted my points to be. That's what I wanted. And then just sometimes, like, I know what my background's gonna be, so because I've got it the way that I have, I'm just trying to figure out accents to my illustration. Where can I get some cool negative space? Where can I find what works? Where can I find where what doesn't work? Typically most of this background stuff will be like very light lined, or it's gonna be just probably vectored to the point of like, not vector, but like almost like with watercolor where you just kind of get the shapes down and keep the line work pretty simple. I have to pull up another reference image of that. So let's see, not these guys. What I want, that's a good reference image. I guess I don't have any trees yet. What else? I was looking for a specific image. Got some arrows on the field. I could probably throw in some arrows and rocks. Add some more things to make it look like a worn out battlefield. I love these bulldogs. They're so freaking weird. I'm not going to throw this in the illustration. I thought about it for a little bit. Maybe I will near the end, but not yet. That's a great illustration. God, that's so good. That's another really good one. Love this one. And sometimes I'll just have different illustrations in here just for inspiration. Not even trying to copy anything. Not even trying to look at their technique. I mean, maybe I'll like see like, oh, that's really cool. I love how they do the background stuff. Like if you just look at all this stuff, he's basically just got an outline for his silhouette, or she, I'm not sure who illustrated it, and like it's just a flat color almost. Like they've got a little bit of like tones in there to kind of give some form, but this one's like 3 shades, but it's super simple because they keep so much detail here in the front with the fire and keep that orange like right there in order to like really make it pop. God, so good. So much control in the way that they approach this illustration, because some illustrators will just try and throw a bunch of detail in the background, but they're super smart about it. They're like, nope, flat blue, you know, flat colors for like this stuff here for the most part, but just a little bit of texturing, a little bit of paint to just really make it pop. God, so smart, so freaking smart. I love looking at other people's art and like just figuring out how they do stuff. This one's like super great too. I mean, you got the obvious butt shot, but butt shots, mind you. This guy looks like he'd be out of Altered Beast. This is so cool too. I love this stuff. That's so much fun. that cloud work. I don't even know how to begin to illustrate that stuff. That's kind of what keeps me going. Like, there's so much line and texture work going on that's so subtle, and the way they like illustrate the muscles here. And I'll just keep art like this up occasionally while I'm working, just to get an idea. So it should be Echi Hama, I believe is the artist. I gotta find their stuff on Instagram. They're too good. Too good. I love how the community rioted about the butt change on Nier. I think it was silly, but there was actually legitimate problems with that armor in terms of like it being like see-through in weird points. Like you could see through like someone's leg, and like it was deforming with certain armors. I agree with you that Buttgate is silly, but there was a legitimate thing where they're like, oh yeah, like it's not just that. Like, I mean, people like their butts. But there were some legitimate issues with like the actual armor and texturing where it's like, this doesn't make sense. I actually have the 2B armor. I play a male character. I just got a chest from it. It was like way after like all the hype had kind of died, so it was pretty easy to get that piece. I still need to unpop it and like give it to one of my retainers. I just like the black, how like simple like the black look to it is with the dress and whatnot. But yeah, Buttgate's silly. Buttgate's silly. It's one reason why I kind of fell off Soul Calibur for a while. As much as I like Soul Calibur, it's not as bad as some fighting games, but some fighting games it just feels a little juvenile. Maybe that's just because I'm older. I don't know. Yeah, that was kind of weird. The mesh at like top, like near the chest, where it would only be one skin tone, which is super glaring because 14 has so many different skin types in its game. It's like, ooh, how'd that happen? But it's kind of like we were talking about earlier. Like there's so much to programming, and you can think that you have everything right, and then a bug, one random thing in the code will happen, and then it's like, oh, that's not working anymore. It's such a cascade of stuff. Let's see, get some kind of wind in there. I'm liking where this is going though. This is gonna be fun. It's gonna be a pain in the ass, but it's gonna be fun. I think that's what I say about every art piece I do. Because I know I'm at the stage in my art career where I know I can illustrate anything I set my mind to. That's not the problem. The problem is like, oh god, this is gonna take like 6 hours to do this thing. And I don't know why I'm so against it sometimes, because like I know I'm gonna have fun. Like I'm having fun doing this right now. Like this is great. Like being able to draw it's such a joy and such a pleasure to be able to do it. But it's just still daunting, because now I'm getting to the part where now's the time where it's gonna start to get difficult, because now I gotta start figuring out how to do certain things. This is the part where it's like, all right, cool, you had the fun stuff now. It's time for you to get wrecked, get riggedy wrecked, and start like, you know, start really figuring out like what's going on in this illustration, what's important, really drawing. Like it's still not the inking phase, but it's getting there. I guess I can work on, it's like where I have to figure out like, how does this Garlean drawn? What does his armor look like? All that kind of jazz. Let's go ahead and let's lower that a little bit, because I don't really need to know too much about what that looks like. But I'm liking what I'm doing so far in terms of like bringing that kind of almost spiral loop with it going on. Yeah, I think 4 guards is enough. Having the Magitech in the background, I feel like I need some more stuff, but that's also stuff that I can always add later. I've got enough of the background that I kind of know what I want to do in terms of it. Like it's all super loose, but I work off characters and then work off background later, which is maybe a mistake. It just kind of depends. Like if I know I'm doing an establishing shot where like I'm using 1 point perspective, I'll set that up at first, but for the most part, yeah. Oh, sorry, I haven't looked at the chat in a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, I was too pale. Also, the gear looked dumb. Yeah, I can see that, Valentara. Blue lip. Code decisions to randomly not work for whatever reason, and then 10 seconds later, it's the most infuriating thing ever. Yeah, I don't think I could ever get into coding because it can be such a crazy thing. And it is nice nerding out with you too, Valentara, about 14 stuff. I can talk about Final Fantasy junk all day long. Well, maybe not all day long because I gotta sleep. But I'm a huge proponent of 14. It's pretty much my only game I play outside of the channel. I know I was saying I was playing My Friend Pedro because my brother bought it, and I'll check out occasional Switch games, but most of my video game time is dedicated to channel stuff, and it's great. I mean, we play games that we like, so it's not a problem. But when I do have free time, 14 is pretty much always what I go to, and it's pretty much my go-to game. Like, I got an hour. What can I do? Oh, I can cap. That'll be fun. 14 just has so many options. There's so many like random things to do, and there's always something I haven't done. It's always like a fun thing to do. So I definitely like it for that kind of aspect. I wish I could play fighting games more, but I just never have the time, and I'm bad. I'm just so bad. My brother owns my ass every single time we play. He's so freaking good. It's ridiculous. Let's start getting in his face. Let's try and get his expression. I'm not too concerned about exacts of him. I just know that he's probably going to do like a battle cry. Eh. He's like a weird Garfield face. What's going on here? Okay. Let's see. Push that. Push that. Push it to the limit. Let's see. And I won't be really married to anything while I'm working on this. You'll see a lot of just going back and forth. Really just kind of working through stuff. And also, like, proportions they'll just change. I find that always happens when I'm doing my work. It's just stuff will change. And I know they don't have ears, but I'm using this as a base so I can figure stuff out with his stupid face later. Where is that? I need this. Yes, this is what I want. Okay, Zale. Give me that face. Give me that silly Makote face. Okay, you got one eye covered. Okay, I know I have that file somewhere on this Photoshop file. Let me see if I can fetch that wherever I put that. It's not there. It's not there. Here we are. Let's take you guys and go ahead and bring you to the forefront. Let's minimize you. Let's make you a little bit smaller so I can zoom in a little bit. Characters are fun. I mean, it's kind of weird because they're human and they're not human. And this is at the point where, like, even though I figured out a lot of the anatomy, it's like, all right, time to figure out a little bit more. So let's go ahead and try and get those ears. Still grumpy we haven't got a male VR. I think Valentara, they're gonna do male Vieras along with female Hrothgars in the next expansion. I feel like they're gonna finish it out with that one. Like they said, no new races, and they're right. There will be no new races. But one of the biggest things they made a point of doing back in 2.0 was making sure that there were female Rogadin and there were male Makote. So it's gonna be a matter of time. I wanted male bunnies too. I thought that would have been rad. But it's just gonna have to be a while because they still gotta fix like how armors work with them and like make all the hats work and stuff like that, and that'll slowly be done. And once all that tech is in place, then they'll easily be able to just throw in the male and the female of those alternate versions, which I know I say easy. It's not gonna be easy, but it'll be a lot more doable than trying to do both at the same time. I think it was a smart decision to do limited races in retrospect, because it does add a lot of flavor to the world. But at the same time, it's just like, oh man, not getting those both is still kind of a bit of a bummer. I really like the male Makote. I came from 11, and they were always kind of rumored, like, you know, they were stay at home because there were so limited of them, etc. And it was always like one of the things like, oh, what would they look like? Same with like, well, Gallicas, which were the original inspiration for Rogadins, they were asexual and they were rebirthed through reincarnation, so I never really wondered what a female Rogadin would look like, or a female Gallica. But male Makotes existed, and they only had one NPC ever be that, and it was like, oh man, maybe they'll add as a race. They never did, but I was really excited when 14 did, because like, ooh, cool. Like, I'm not going to play the Catman, but Chris will finally be a male character, and he won't have random strangers hitting on him all the time. That'll be nice. Because when we played 11, he played a female Makote, because he really liked the dex stat, and he knew he wanted to play a thief. So, I mean, at least that's his story. His story is that that's what it's about. I think he just like cat girls, so he's like, oh hell yeah, and just use the dex stat as kind of like a yeah. That's totally why I did it. Oh, I love female Rose. I love the She-Hulk character. So cool. One thing that I've tried to do more in my art over the past probably past 2 years, is just do more body types when I'm doing illustration work and stuff like that, and really just for the sake of variety. I like, you know, being obviously having more representation in art. I think that's great. But in general, like, I think it makes it more visually interesting when we have more diverse female body types and more diverse like character designs. I think overall it makes aesthetically more interesting. Yeah, he picked the female Pokemon character for Dex too. He just likes playing as female characters. Like, I like playing as male characters. Chris likes playing as female characters. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But it's funny because in D&D he'll always pick male characters to play as. But in video games, he predominantly picks female characters for protagonists. I always choose male. It just helps me get more into the game and kind of establish my role as the protagonist. It just helps me see it a bit better. But yeah, play whatever you like most. I love female protagonists though. Samus is one of my favorite characters of all time. Metroid was the first game I pretty much ever played was Super Metroid. That opening cutscene to that game. Whoo, you want to talk about atmosphere in video games? There really is not much better than that. That game does atmosphere so well in its opening cutscene. I've yet to find a game other than like Link's Awakening. Not Link's Awakening, Link to the Past, that does it as well from that era. Like, there's other games like Flash or Cinematics, but it's so simple with how Metroid starts. It gives me chills every time. Love that game. Let's see. This is where it starts getting more interesting. Well, more difficult. Like, it's still... My art style is simplified from most illustrators. And I like to think of it as like kind of a blend between like Bruce Timm and like Akira Toriyama and a little bit of Kishimoto from Naruto. Like, it's got a little bit of that anime aesthetic, but it takes a lot of rules and thought processes that like Bruce Timm and a lot of like American illustrators and stuff use, where it's like I'm trying to look at the stuff and just simplify it, mostly because I'm not great with detail, but also just because I don't like drawing detail as much. Like, I do and I don't. I've gotten more used to it over time, but not as much. Oh, hey, Red Pat. How's it going? Nothing much. How's your night going? We are just chilling while I work on this commission illustration for Final Fantasy XIV for one of my good FC buddies. One of my best buds. It's always fun talking to Zale. Good dude. Let's see, Fanart. Just played male characters for the longest time because my friend and I played MMOs. Gave you shits for playing female characters and refused to play with me until I changed. It's funny. Yeah, some people be like that. I never gave Chris stuff for that. Like, play what you like. I've always been a big believer in that, and just in life in general. Like, if you're not hurting anybody and you're having a good time, do what you want. Live how you want to live. Don't let other people tell you how to do stuff. Okay, let's get that hand in there. Get that monkey claw going on. Get that strange wrist going on. Oh, trying to remember how perspective works. Get those arm guards in as well. My toes are so freaking freezing. I have socks on. I have slippers on. Chris is like, you'll be fine. I'm like, my toes feel like they're about to fall off. Save me. Alright, that arm is way too stretched out. No arm can humanly do that. So let's bring this in. And this is like something that happens when you're illustrating. Like, you draw it the first time, you're like, oh, that works. And it doesn't. And you have to change it. But it also is just a, you know, that's, like I said, it's one of my favorite parts about the illustration process, is just this dirty phase of where I'm just figuring stuff out. Go get a dog to be a foot warmer. Zoe's in the crate right now, because if I let Zoe out, Zoe probably would be my foot warmer. I think Chris and Jen should be home-ish soon. I'm sure, like, barking will pursue very soon because of that. That perspective is way too off. Alright, let's take this, and we're gonna cheat with Photoshop. And I'm gonna do a little bit of help and make that perspective go like that. Yeah, that's more like it. That's more the angle that I want. And you know, it's not gonna do all the work for me, but it definitely will. It definitely will help me a decent amount of the way of just like, all right, this is kind of the angle you want, and then I just have to take my own artistic, you know, interpretation and just, you know, keep on rolling with it. Let's see. Sometimes the boss shouldn't play girl characters. Surprise. Yeah. You know, there's always people, Valentara, that are trying to, like, push their views, or, like, it's typically, I always find, it's from their own insecurities. I'm glad that the world is becoming more, like, open to other people, and I didn't always have, like, I don't want to say the most open opinion. I wasn't really exposed to a lot of that until I started going to college and, like, understanding more of what it's like for people that are trans, and I still don't know a ton of it. Like, I'm not going to be claimed to be an expert or anything like that. But going to college is definitely an eye-opener for me, for, like, the gay community and trans community and stuff like that, and really getting exposed and meeting more people. I wanted to say I was sheltered, but it just, you know, just never really came up when I was in school, until I kind of got to college. I love the fact that more and more people are becoming accepting. Unfortunately, we still have people that are still very against letting people just live their lives, but that's been since the beginning of time, unfortunately. There's always going to be someone that kind of pops in and is like, you should be living this way, and everyone else is like, but we just want to live our way. It's not hurting anybody. People are weird, and people are awesome. What are you going to do? Just in our own little corner, just try and be as accepting of everybody. Even if it doesn't make sense to you, just be like, yeah, no, I just want to be supportive. Yeah, there really is, Pat. There's too much intolerance, especially when it doesn't affect you at all. Like, have your own religion. Follow whatever God you believe in. Follow no God if you want to believe in. Just respect other people's way of life. It should be that simple. It should be that easy. But for some people, for some reason, it's not. And you just have to shake your head and be like, all right, man, keep on living in that hateful way if you want to, but we're going to have a good time over here. Oh yeah, Valentar. I love the community for 14. I can't really speak to how good it is for the LGBT, but like I have a bunch of people in my FC that I consider really close friends that are gay, and they're awesome. And I love how the community is so welcoming. Like some games like have very toxic communities, and 14 has a tiny little faction that's a little bit toxic, but so I love the community is so more welcoming. The amount of people that are just accepting and just really good people in that community outweigh any little shittiness that comes from it. And really the only shittiness that comes from 14 is like if you get high into the raid-in scenes. Even then that's not that bad. It's just that's in every game. You get into the high-end community and people get sticks up their butts and they just get way too crazy. Yeah, I'm with you, Pat. Don't come around with that kind of hate. Like there's just no reason for it. There's no reason to be mean to someone. Like even if it's something you're like, I don't really get it, or I don't really, even if like if some people don't support it, it's like, well then just don't hate on it, okay? Like don't, as the guys from what's the podcast Chris always listens to, god, what is it called? I know them from like because they were on Giant Bomb all the time on Game of the Years and stuff. My brother and me. Like don't yuck somebody's yum. Like let people live and just be cool with it. There's no reason to be hateful or misogynistic or anything of that nature. It's a zero-sum game. There's literally no reason to be that way. You don't gain anything from it other than being an asshole. And nobody wants to be an asshole. They're gross and they're yucky and they're just no fun to be around. He really needed to send. I didn't have to get better pics of his character and eventually do like the armor for this guy. Let's see. Kind of got like a broad shape. Then I kind of want to get. I'm overemphasizing this cape shape a little bit. I love the Alexander armor. I really need to earn this one. Unfortunately, I quit just before they added this armor. I have a lot of the Midas armor from the second tier turns and a lot of the Gordius armor, but I've never gotten this stuff. I need to farm this at some point. Let's get that tail in there. Let's pull that in. Let's get his little boots. For the most part, that's pretty good. Capes are cool. I love capes. Even though Edna says no capes, drawing capes is fun. Yeah, no, you can totally like 3-man. I got my younger brother. I'll probably just get my friend Jason and whatnot. It's just been like, I just haven't done it. 12 is, yeah, 12 needs a little more, and I could always call on my raid group. My old raid group, which I'm still good friends with, to help me out at some point. I would just have to schedule it out and just do it and be like, hey, who wants to help me? And they'd be down for it. I could totally get them to do it. My friend, the guy that I'm doing this commission for, would totally be down for it. He always says like if I ever need help, and they actually know the fight. That's just part of it. I just need to learn it. I've done pretty much anything. Every time a new EX fight comes out, I do it. Minus the ultimate stuff, just because I don't have time to learn that stuff anymore, nor the patience. I just like playing 14 for the story and leveling up the jobs and doing the random content. It's just such a relaxing game, except for PvP. That shit's infuriating, yet I still keep playing it. I don't know why. I love that game. I love that PvP, and I hate that PvP all at the same time. I hate it because getting wins is just so freaking aggravating. Like, I almost won! And I lost. Cool, I get no credit. Hooray. Yeah, Valentar, the ultimates are hard. Obviously, because they're the ultimate fights, but just, they're such a time commitment that I've never wanted to do that. Like, it'd be fun if there was like a mode where you could do the ultimate fights as a single player, which I know kind of defeats the purpose of it, but like just to see if like, oh, I can do my role right. It's just everyone else around me has to do their job at the same time too. That would be really interesting. Like almost like a test dummy mode where you can like test your role in a fight, and it's just NPCs. That'd be cool. All right, this isn't perfect, but let's make you a little bit bigger. Because I want him to be like within 2/3 of the screen. I want him to be there. I could also add like, maybe there's like a magic blimp in the background, or Bismarck's flying. Who freaking knows? I don't know. Probably not. I probably won't have Bismarck. Maybe I'll add like magic airships or something like that. I should probably illustrate this guy a little bit more though. Not the Makote. He's pretty much good. I'll probably put him in a group. And when I get to like this phase, ooh, no, I don't want to open game bar. That's not what I hit. I hit Control G. Name him Azael. Let's go ahead and add some of the flourishes, because this will kind of dictate, like this stuff will be transparent, but having some of this kind of like whirlwind stuff will let me know where I want certain things. And like sparking effects. Effects are so much fun to do in illustration stuff. This is gonna be sweet. This is gonna be a nice portfolio piece. Even if it's fan art, it'd still be a nice portfolio piece. And here I am stretching. Let's see. She kicks my butt at the game. I think. Oh, your girlfriend is like week 2 or prog if someone's missing. Wow, that's impressive. She averaged like 98th percentile. She was like 99. I'm not good with FF logs. My always philosophy with kind of like MMO is like, did we clear it? No? Okay, now we can look at the logs and figure out how we do it. Logs were just starting to become a thing like as I was quitting raiding. Like I think Heaven's Word is like where they first started gaining traction and the website started building. I think it's a good thing though. I think the tool overall can be useful as long as you're not hating on people for that kind of stuff. But yeah, I was never top DPS like on that stuff. No, for self-improvement, it's great. That's why I like that tool. I think in terms of self-improvement, it can be a great tool for that, because you can let your group know it's like, okay, during this phase, the Paladin needs to do more DPS. Like, how can we figure that out? How can we as a group enable the Paladin to do more damage here? Like, what are you doing during that phase? Like, I think it's super great for that. I think the part that I don't like is the same thing that happens with a lot of video games where it's like, how high was my DPS? Look at me, let me gloat. It's like, personal DPS shouldn't matter too much, because I've played with people that care about their personal deeps and not the fact like we keep losing because you keep going in there and ignoring mechanics and getting us killed for that very reason. So when it's for group improvement, awesome. When it's for like how good was my DPS, get out of here. Like, your personal DPS doesn't matter if we still die. If we died. We lost. Obviously it doesn't matter that you were 98th percentile. And I know it doesn't log it in until you actually win the fight. But you know what I mean. Like, just, I care about winning the battle. If I win the battle, awesome. If I lost the battle, well, it doesn't matter too much now, does it? Okay, let's pull up, not this one. Let's pull up this one. Pull you in here and pull you in here. Even sometimes, if I'm just trying to figure out like how things are drawn, sometimes I'll do drawovers. Be like, all right, what's this helmet shape? What does this break down to? Because like, honestly, this shit's hard. And a lot of illustrators actually do this. They just, like, a lot of concept artists will like break stuff down. I find this is like a nice studying tool just to figure out like, hey, what are the basic shapes of this armor? What are the basic breakdowns? Like, what kind of shapes are they using? Where would I be able to simplify this? What's the hilt on their sword, etc. I like the layout with the couching info on the right. Looks good. Thanks, Pat. I like it a lot too. I'm pretty happy with how that stuff turned out. Overall, like I think it turned out pretty nice. I'm just gonna get up and stretch for a second, cause I forgot I haven't stretched in a while. I'm still a little sore from yesterday, from my run. Oi. But yeah, typically I'll do this in just terms of like, sometimes I'll want to figure out where stuff is. 'Cause they got such weird designs. Do another layer. And now that I kind of have a feel for it, it looks like you can't even really see most of their stuff. I guess I'll just have to get the expressions from some of the other ones. No, the lighting's fine. That gives me exactly what I need in terms of like direction, Valentar. That's awesome. Like I can see all the shapes and stuff. That's perfect. Like that gives me exactly what I need. Because it gives me the exact angle that I kind of want to go for. In terms of like direction. I forget that they have bucket helmets and like you can't really tell too much of like what they are from their perspectives, and I could probably fiddle with that or fudge around that, but I don't really need to. Like there's some good ones here too that give like a breakdown of their faces and masks, but like yeah, you can really only see like that part from the front, and I'll get that part for like these other ones, like these guys over here. But yeah, like this gives me a good back angle, but like you want to talk about low quality, this is low quality. Your image, I can tell what's going on. This image, I don't know, it's a shape. And sometimes I need a little bit more detail than that in order to go off of what I want. But when it's like big illustrations like this, these just take, you know, they're huge endeavors. They take like hours to do. I typically don't commission stuff out like this too often, just because they are super long, because they would be super expensive. This is more of like, this guy's been my buddy for a long time, so that's one reason why I'm kind of giving like him a discount for it. But I'm also just kind of going the extra mile on it too, just because I want to. But I've also figured out a new inking technique that makes this stuff get a lot faster. Found like a really cool program that steadies the hand. Because digital illustration, like I can do it on paper, no problem. That's not hard. But like I really like this tool, Lazy Nizumi Pro. It just gives a little bit more control than the smoothing normally does in Photoshop. So when I'm doing my line work, like when I get to do, when I'm like working on this stuff, which is like part of a little webcomic I'm working on, it makes it really easy to get my line quality how I want it exactly. So that's been super nice because that speeds this up. I used to have to do this all with a pen tool, but now that I can have like just the regular inking tool, makes it a lot easier. Yeah, the cloth ones are pretty much it. And the cloth ones are so boring. Like they're, you want to talk about 1.0 relics. That's a 1.0 relic. That was like, they did one design, they needed like a generic army uniform. I know like these guys are from it too. But yeah, I've never liked the base Imperial armor design. And I mean, okay. Part of me likes it because it's, you can tell it's designed and inspired by the guy that drew Tactics. So I'm like, okay, I kind of dig it. But it's also just so plain that it's kind of boring too at the same time, where it's like, there's not a ton going on. It's fine. And it's the grunt uniform, so it makes sense. But their design work has also gotten so much better since then. While I like the original stylings of the Final Fantasy Tactics artist and what he did for 14 to set up the base style, I do think they've really improved upon what like that original idea was to like an 11th degree. Let's see. Get that. I don't want to chop off his hand. Thought that'd be funny, but I think I'm just gonna have it like just be like he lost it, like lost his grip. This isn't The Witcher, so no hand cutting off or fingers. Which I always think it's funny because Chris was always surprised how much I like that game, and I'm surprised too. Because it's typically, I don't like that typical fantasy style. I've always never really cared for like old fantasy D&D art and stuff like that. It just feels kind of grungy. But something about The Witcher hits that Mike Mignola Hellboy aesthetic that I just love. Like, I can't stand watching horror movies, but if you give me fantasy horror, ooh, like Darkest Dungeon, it's my jam. That stuff I can dig. That's stuff that I love. I'm super excited for Darkest Dungeon 2. God, I can't wait for that game. That's gonna be so much fun. But yeah, hopefully the mic quality sounds good on this one. I like my Snowball mic. It's obviously not the same quality of what we have for the other stuff. I'll have to watch videos and stuff to feel what it's like, but probably even when it comes to like Darkest Dungeon stuff, I don't know, maybe we'll stream that on the regular mics. Maybe I'll stream it on my computer. I don't know. Actually, we'll have to do it on the other computer now that I think about it. I just don't know if I'll buy it for Switch or not. I guess it just depends like what port comes out first. I think they're finally back because Fox is losing her absolute mind, which is good because they'll have to feed them. Not that I'm not unwilling to feed them. This is around the time Jen normally feeds Fox and Zozo. But it means that I don't have to really stop and I can kind of keep my flow going on. I don't know, Blue. They still haven't said. Yeah, I'm with you, Pat. They freak me out too. I can't do horror movies. My mind gets away from me too much. I'm with you, Jack. It just depends on the certain type of horror. Like, despite like Eldritch type horror stuff and like Hellboy type horror stuff, like I'm into. That's great. I can totally get down with that. But yeah, like horror like Resident Evil 2 or like The Shining or Halloween or anything slightly spooky, nope, count me out. I'm down. I'm out. Like you guys watch Yearwalk? That shit actually legitimately scared me. Like when I freak out in that game, that's me getting freaked out. That's not me hyping it up. Like I don't like horror stuff. I don't like jump scares. I really respect Resident Evil. You cannot get me to play those games. No way, not in my free time. This guy that I'm illustrating though, he loves that kind of stuff. He digs horror games. Get me out of there. I'll play The Last of Us, but Last of Us is not really a horror game. At least I don't think so. Yeah. Valentara, you for underwater games? Yeah, Chris doesn't like them. You should go watch Narcosis. That was like our second series that we ever did. Chris is legitimately freaked out. He does not like deep water, which is it's interesting because he worked on a boat for so many years. So you can't say he didn't like tackle his fears, because he definitely did. Okay, I am really liking how this is turning out. This is turning out really good. I knew it was going to, because I remember loving just the initial thumbnail sketch I had for this. I was just like, ooh. Because I got this... I don't do this with commissions normally, but this has like been a back burner commission for like the last 3 months. But I did like the thumbnail a month ago, and even like after 2 months of like it gestating in my mind, I was just like, ooh. This is gonna turn out good when it's all said and done, but God, every time I do a new illustration, like I draw all the time, but in terms of like doing illustrations like this, I don't do them as often as I used to, just because they are such time investments. But also just part of that is because so much of my time has just been dedicated, especially the last like 3 months, has been dedicated to channel stuff, which is great. I mean, I like doing stuff for the channel, so it's not been like a bad thing. Like doing those animations and stuff, the channel's been awesome as a like artistic outlet, because it is so different from what I normally do. Well, I mean, not normally do, but just what I would do outside of what I would normally illustrate if just given the free time, like UI design, stuff like that. So it's fun for that. These guys are great, though. I'm a huge fan of 12. And they're all based on, like, that Final Fantasy XII aesthetic for the judges. God, I can't wait till we get that armor in the game. Love the judge armor. I got my Gabranth figure looking down upon me as I'm illustrating this, giving me guidance. Let's go ahead and get that angle going on. I think. Pretty sure Fox is barking as they're back. Let me check the chat again. It's been a little while. Only horror games I played that wasn't scary, so it might be Paranoia. Oh, I haven't heard of Paranoia. When I was playing Vanessa level from the Hat in Time, I was almost in the fetal position of my chair dark style. Hey man, I get it, man. I totally get it. I didn't like that stuff either. I'm also just... It's like Chris says all the time. I'm a huge contradiction. There's like certain things freak me out and then certain things don't, which I know makes it kind of hard because it makes it hard for him and other people to like get a peg on my take on things. They'll be like, oh, Sam will definitely love this. And I'm like, oh, no, I hate it. It's just like, what? And to me, it makes sense. But to everyone else, it's like, you make absolutely no sense, my good sir. What is wrong with you? You know, I'm kind of looking at these now, and they kind of look like Spaniards with their helmet design. I wonder if that was the inspiration. Played a bit of Resident Evil 7. Got to the part where Mia ambushes the PC in the stairs, Darkstar. And I closed the game. You're braver than I am, Darkstar. I don't think I'd even open up that game. I saw what that game was about. I'm like, nope! I'm out. Get me out of here. No, thank you. I think every time now I see a death animation in a game, I just want to think of, what is it, Bloodstain? And just think, eee, as he's dying. I just want that to be like the death animation for like every single character in every video game. And maybe that would get annoying. But I think it'd just be funny. I think it'd just be funny every time. Like someone, like you need a mod for that. Like when I play Darkest Dungeon 2, like every time an enemy dies. All right. Let's get that arm going in. I kind of want blowback. Okay, start getting in his chest area. I guess like I want his arm going off like that. And then yeah, I kind of have this going on here. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Let's go ahead and pinch that down too. Kind of break that in. This is where the pose work gets a little bit tricky because he's kind of got that weird helmet style head. Let's see. Almost want like a giant crack in his armor. Maybe like he was about to swing. I don't know. He is kind of wearing a gas mask. So the design of this character is based off these guys. So these are like the higher soldiers, like the higher Garlemald enemy designs. You might have run into them, Blue. I'll have to, like, obviously I'm gonna have to kind of change that stuff up a little bit as I'm going. Nice, Valentar. Yeah, they kind of do look like gas masks. Kind of get this claw shape going on. Like I kind of want like a pose like almost he's just been attacked. Perspective is off, though. Maybe I just need to, like... that doesn't look right either. That's a lot of thing with drawing, too, is it's just super iterative. Especially this phase. Spike Chonky. Nice. Yeah, Chris definitely put a lot of thought into like what to do with the couching coins. I left that mostly up to him, but I'm pretty happy with the decisions that he made. It's really cool. I like the idea that we can kind of name Pokemon. For you guys get to name Pokemon. I don't want a tangent there. I want him to have a strong silhouette. I was trying to do something fancy with the arm, but I think just a simple pose where like he's just dropped it, I think might be better. And kind of like contort that shape. And hopefully like the stream quality looks good. I didn't ask you guys about that, but like in terms of visuals and stuff. Because like this is on a whole different PC. So a lot of it I don't know how stuff is going to translate, if I need to change things, etc. I think that's good for now in terms of his face. You have enough to name a Pokemon named Snick. Nice. Do they also watch Nick at Night? Do they slime people? So the guy almost looks like he's part of the thriller. Like he's just going, like, he's about to like go into a dance move. He needs to be a bit thinner. He's too big of a thick boy. Or maybe he's a Roganin. I don't know. No Rogadins were harmed during this broadcast, I assure you. Okay, maybe two. That stinky leg doesn't work. I almost kind of like want a little bit of his footing, like he's almost been hit off the ground. Like this is like mid-motion, so like he hasn't completely fallen backwards yet. He's still kind of holding his ground, but I also want it to look dynamic. Rogadin? That's how I've always heard it. I could be wrong. That's how my friends pronounce it too. I think that's how it is. I'm not the best when it comes to pronunciations. As you may have found out, phonetics are not exactly my strong suit. But I'm pretty sure it's Rogadin, yeah. Rogadin, Mikote. It helps that Koji Fox, who speaks English, translated in Japanese, works in the Japanese office, is one of the big lore guys, can pronounce them for us. Not that it'd be really any different, I guess, if the Japanese people did it either, like, or if Yoshi P did it. But just having someone on the English side, having someone that is an English native speaker and a Japanese speaker as well, God, that's so nice in the 14 community. It makes it so easy in terms of things to like just be translated and having knowledge being shared between both fan bases. Let's see. Is there a cap to the total amount of couching coins one could have? I don't think so, Bennett. I think it's just... I think it's unlimited. I don't think there's a cap to it. I think Chris said there's no cap. You know what? I know I said I wasn't gonna have him, you know, do that, but I think I'm gonna have one of his legs. Do a little butt shot. Get chunks of metal. Flying off. Yeah, I'm liking this better. I mean, this is also, I think, just something that everyone sees really good illustration, but this is, in my experience, this is really what illustration is kind of about. It's just this really getting in gritty, like getting in the dirt, getting in the mud, and really just figuring stuff out. I'm sure there's illustrators like, there's Jim Jong Ji, I believe his name is. He's like this guy that just illustrates straight out of his head. He's very rare though. Like, he's the only guy that can do it. But almost no one I know that is like him. Everyone else is just very iterative, very figuring out shapes like that. And like this is definitely what I'm looking for in pose. It's got a lot of power. It's got a lot of perspective going on. I think I need to bring this down a little bit. I think I need to shrink some of his appendages just to show that a little bit of it is going in perspective. And then probably boost this one up a little bit, get a little bit of foreshortening. Just get that stanky arm in there. Figuring out what to do with arms and hands and stuff is always difficult. Just like, what do I want to do with this thing this time? Maybe I have a shield flying off. Or maybe it's still attached. I don't know. Maybe it's like broken up though. A little bit of dust clouds. Going on, because ideally, like, there's gonna be like a lot of power coming off like this guy's swing. I want to like really emphasize, like, warriors are supposed to be like, you know, one of the strongest characters in the Final Fantasy lore. Like, they're all about like just brute physical force. So I want to feel like this Garlean is just, you're getting what they can't show in 14. Like, I mean, they show it, but like, because you're working with 3D models and they can't do that anime flavoring as much as they'd like, I think I really want it to feel like, ooh, he is feeling that hit. Like, someone get him a medic. God, I love his sketchy face. So much fun. All right, got one more Garlean Ruff. Got this guy in the front. And one thing I think I didn't mention, but one thing I really like to work with is just working in tone. It just helps me visually able to see kind of like where everything is going and how it's working. Let's see. I'm couching in the back. That guy in the back needs some work. Let's go ahead and I'm just gonna pick red. I'm gonna pick red for this guy. And these, like, this guy in the back won't have to be as crazy detailed as some of the other ones too. I guess I could even like, I don't know if these even come off these characters, but I could just, you know, even kind of make it so like that's just coming off. Oh, so like, let me think. So if it's like Couchling style, where like it's super limited background Valentara, and it's just like your main character, or like your main character and your girlfriend's character, I charge around probably like 80 for that. Like the background would be very simple, probably like, you know, loading screen, or like 80 would be like about, it's kind of like starting base price. Just want to mention that Twitter only just sent out the stream, just sent it out now, Red Pat. Yeah, I don't know why it would do that. When I hit the button, I thought it was going to, but I think the problem is I'm not logged in to Twitter on this computer, because this is my personal computer in the other room from where Chris and I do all the other streaming and stuff like that. So I think that's why it was delayed, and I don't have the access to the Twitter account in the same way, because it's logged in on Chris's phone and I have my own Twitter account. So yeah, that's not as openly available to me. Got so many tabs. I want you. Oh, it did send it 2 hours ago? Maybe Chris made another post. I think they're home. I'm gonna text him. Fox barked. I think I just heard him cough, so I think that's him. But I got my headphones on, so I can't really tell. Okay, cool. They're home. Yeah, cool. Feed them yet. By the way, I did feed the dogs. Other days, though. I did the other days, though. Just so he knows, just so there's some context. Like, I did feed the dogs. I'm not a cool person. I grew up with dogs. I've of course fed them, but I didn't feed them yet. So hopefully they know to feed Fox and Zozo now. So that way if Zoe's begging for food, they're like, why is she begging like that? It's like, oh, yeah, that's why. She hasn't been fed today. Because they only feed them once a day. Oh, I will tell him that the streamers say hi. The Couchlings say hi. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know why it would do that. Came across your phone on Streamlands. Has time at 7:52, but it's just went out. Weird. I don't know, Pat. That's bizarre. I like the idea of this helmet thing. That's funny. Chris also says hi. I'm sure they're probably pretty drained from their flight and drive. I'm pretty sure he got everything ready in terms of channel stuff for like at least the next few days. I think we got to record Pokemon tomorrow. I think that's like our next thing on our to-do list. That, and we're gonna try and get ahead on a couple of other games. We got a new, I don't think we've listed it yet, but we've got another game we've been wanting to play for a long time that should be coming out next month that we'll start recording. I just bought a bunch of stuff on Steam as well, which should be fun. Stinking Steam sale, stealing all my money. That's okay though. Bought a bunch of cool games that we should be able to play on the channel. The next one that we're gonna play, I don't know. I don't want to say it yet because I think Chris hasn't posted yet. It's a game we've been wanting to play for a while. It's a very artsy game. It's gonna be a me and him stuff. I bought like Human Basketball and I bought Heave Ho and a couple of other things on Steam the other day. So that should be fun. Heave Ho looks hilarious. So I figure at some point we'll have to get Mike over to play that. And I bought like Killer Instinct. That one's mostly for me. Maybe I'll do that on stream at some point. I don't know. Fighting games are still kind of weird. Like the last times we've done fighting games, they just haven't been super successful. But now that we have Twitch, maybe it'll be a bit more. I would like to get Mike over and also like play other Couchlings and stuff like that through fighting games. But I feel like if there's going to be an option for that, Smash Brothers might be the better option because more people might end up having that instead. But I love fighting games, so I would love to cover them more on the channel because even though I don't play them as much as I used to, like they're such a big part of like what I like about video games. I love figuring out the tech, even though I'm not good at them. I just love figuring out the systems and how they work. Let's figure out that claw hand. Yeah, Smash would be fun. We'll have to do that again at some point. Mike's just in such the busy season right now that it's kind of hard for him. You know, delivery season, all that stuff. So it makes it kind of difficult for him to get time to do stuff. It's hard enough to play on D&D. Like, we haven't done D&D group since like beginning of this month or something like that, because everyone's schedules are so crazy with like the holidays, which is fine. It's nice to have a little bit of a break every now and then, keep recharged, give Chris time to plan. I think our next session is this Saturday, something like that. All right, this guy's definitely channeling the E from Castlevania, Bloodstained Symphony of the Night. Like, he's got it. That's exactly what I want out of a design. This is so stupid. And like, that'll be like very simple in the background. I don't even know if those hats can come off. I know they're helmets, but you know what? It's coming off. Team Rocket's blasting off again is what I'm getting vibe from this. I think, well, I'm excited to play Jak and Daxter again. Well, watch Jak and Daxter and watch Chris play for the first time. I love the Jak and Daxter series, so it's cool that that won. I do hope Nier wins at a certain point. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Because it got so close this time. I'm hoping it wins next time, because I kind of want to play Nier. I want to do it, but I don't want to dive in and go play it if you guys are going to vote it in next month. You know what I mean? So I'm like, like I want to do it, but if you guys end up voting for it next time, like, I'm totally down. Sam has spoken. Sam would love to play Nier Automata. I'm excited to see Jak and Daxter too. Jak and Daxter though is Jak and Daxter was a huge part of my childhood. Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, and Sly Cooper later in life. To be able to work on Sly Cooper when the fourth one was around, just when I was out of art school, has always been like, it's been a highlight for me as an artist. Like, to be able to work on that trilogy of like cartoon franchises and have my name in the credits, that's always been something I'm always super proud of. If I don't do anything in life, I at least worked on one of those franchises, and that's a treat. Yeah, if keep on nominating it, Val. Like, if you keep on pushing it, it'll win. Like, we've had Bloodstained took like 4 months for it to win, but that's because people kept on pushing it and kept on pushing it, and I also kept on hinting. I'm like, hey, Bloodstained, that'd be really cool if you could play it. And Chris is kind of like, I don't know if people are gonna really go for it. And by the end of that game, he really dug it, which was nice. It wasn't like an Undertale thing where it's just like, oof, he's not digging it. And I've been listening to a lot of the Giant Bombcast, and they've been talking about their game of the year and stuff like that. And it was nice to hear that other people liked Bloodstained as much as I did. Exactly, Blue Lip. Like, Nier was right on there. Nier was like, ooh, right on the cusp. Jak and Daxter just barely edged out. So, like, there'll be no Jak and Daxter to vote on next time. Yeah. I haven't played Jak and Daxter since I beat the HD collection. Years ago. It's been a long time. I platinumed all that stuff. These games are great. Jak and Daxter 2 was the bane of my existence, though. That game was freaking hard at the time. Freaking Darth Vader heads in here. But yeah, this phase is all just like, this is kind of like the final phase before I really have to like figure stuff out. Like I'm still figuring stuff out, but like if we were to like put this into phases, this is like phase 2 of 4. Like this is like the second phase of like refinement, where I kind of really figure stuff out, and then after that it's like maybe I'll do one more pass on refinement in terms of like what I want to illustrate. But in general, I think usually after this point, once I've got like the my basic geometry, my basic pose stuff, it pretty much just comes down to inking, which can be a bit laborious, as I've said, but it's a lot of fun too. I honestly can't think of one single game of the year. I have like 4 or 5 contenders. I don't like really choosing anymore in terms of like what game Jack Allen like is like game of the year for me. I just like going like, here's my 10 games that I like. I think at some point it'd be fun for us to do top 10s again, but we just didn't have time for it. Maybe in January, like we'll put together a list. But also, I think people also know what games we liked the most. If that's something you guys really want to see, we could make that happen. But it's a lot of editing on Chris's part, and we just haven't had time. Like, if we start getting ahead on some stuff, then maybe, but like we still have to do like the Zote compilation and stuff like that. But we'll see. I think of game of the year in categories, that way you can separate which ones are best in different ways. I like that idea, Blue. I mean, yeah, like there's also so many old games that come out. Like typically sometimes my game of the year, like games that all play, like Darkest Dungeon is probably one of my games of the year. That game came out 2 years ago though. That game was not a 2019 release, but I played it in 2019, and that's one of my favorite games I played this year. So that's what makes game of the year kind of hard. Like we're not usually up and up on what's like coming out and what's not. Sekiro is definitely up there for me. Like I really like Sekiro. That's probably like the only big AAA release I played this year though. In terms of like, yeah, I don't think there was any other AAAs that I really played this year besides Sekiro. All the others were just kind of indie titles. Not that those are bad, but I think a lot of the titles that we ended up playing were from past years. Like Bloodstained was obviously this year. Oh wow, we ran out of the music. Let me go ahead and put that back up. Oh, it just paused it. Never mind. Now it's back up. You really need a tiny stick in the background of the cliff. Just totally watch out for the warrior light. Yeah, I would. He's my boy. Gotta love Estinian. Alright. Get that little armor pad here. Probably go for a little bit longer, then we'll probably break off, and then I might just save this for doing the next art stream, because I have to finish that other one. Like art streams might become more impromptu. It just kind of depend. Like I'm off this week, so I might do one like midweek for this if I want to work on it some more. I'm not sure. Because I know after I stop tonight, I'm definitely gonna take a break. I'm a big believer in like art. You just have to take breaks sometimes, especially when I'm working on pieces like this, like because I can kind of just go for hours and forget about eating and all this other stuff. But I love like taking breaks while I'm working on art. Like I'll work on art for like an hour and a half or 2 hours, and then I'll like play a video game for an hour, and then I'll like, all right, cool, time to get back into it, or I'll read a book for an hour or something like that. I'm definitely someone that needs breaks in between stuff while doing other things. I also think it makes my art better too, by like taking time to do other things. Yeah, surprise midweek streams. Those would definitely be art related. It really just depends on like time and like what art can I do that's not on stream. I mean, that's streamable, and stuff that's not. It also just depends like how talkative I am that day, how good my voice is. Let's see. Go ahead and do that. That's good. We've got the dragon in the background. Gonna have the flashes from this, so I won't really need too much over there, and it's gonna have the background work. I guess I could just do a little bit of smoke coming off there. We got the dragon in the background, we got the Magitech armor. Ooh, that is way too far away. Yeah, that's looking good. It's looking solid. I think I should add some more details to the background stuff, but I don't want to do too many. Like, I could get way crazier and have like 7 guards or something like that in the background. Yeah. Thanks, Valentar. I'm glad you guys like it. I'm totally down for doing more, because like I'm always. This is my character, the Paladin Kane. This is Mike's character, Krong, the orc. This is my spiritual tiger steed, Byakko. Jen's character, Azura. You've got Danielle's character, Nimale, and one of our past members, another person named Danielle's character named Thea. Our friend Kevin in the background, who's the bard, rocking out on the show. Some background characters. This illustration took forever. I got characters here, random NPCs that Chris created, and way, if I can zoom in, can I zoom in more? If we get all the way in here, like there's characters all the way back. This is why this one took so long, because there's just like there's characters hanging out over here. And then you got, if once it finishes rendering, we've got Ganondorf and Chris just hanging out there mysteriously. So Chris is the DM, so I kind of shoved his character in all the way. Like his character's always usually part of the background. But yeah, this one was crazy. This is the most ambitious piece I've ever done. Darkstar was asking what's the hardest piece I've ever illustrated. It's definitely this piece. This piece was super hard. And I was confident I could do it, but it was a lot of character creation. It was establishing a world. Yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun though. This is one of my proudest pieces I've done. Just because the perspective works, the character design works, the world feels built, and I feel like based on this, like you could see a show. Like this is totally like you look at this, you're like, oh yeah, that's a world. Those are characters. Everyone's interacting. Yeah, I'm super proud of this piece. Plus, I got this little cute tiefling barmaid, because why not? If it was zoom in. Nope, that's way too big. Not these guys. Oh, this is actually another piece. This is the first piece I did for Chris. I didn't know this was in the folder. This is the first illustration we did. Yeah, high school Valentar. 2003, we would have been sophomores. No, we met as freshmen. So I guess it was like 2002? 2001? Because we graduated in 06. So yeah, we've been friends a long time. I've actually known Mike since 5th grade, and I've known Jen since 2nd grade. But I wasn't really friends with Mike. Like, we knew each other. Like, that was about it. Like, but we didn't really hang out. We didn't start really hanging out until high school with Chris. So it's almost kind of like it was fated to be in some ways. That's Kevin's character. That's my character, Kane, the Paladin. Azura. This is the first one I did. Chris is the DM. All the different NPCs that he's created. The third illustration's not in here. I don't know where that one is. I can probably find that. My proudest piece too of Krong in his Facebook profile. Let's see, animation, artwork, speed paints. I think it's around here somewhere. This one's not D&D, but this one was a lot of fun. I did that one a couple months ago. That one was a lot of fun to do. This is actually a concept that Jen gave me when we were playing D&D. I can't remember what she said that sparked my imagination. But it's the idea of a dolphin stealing fish from a farmer's market was just too funny not to do. But this thing was a beast to do, because I'd never really done like town illustrations like that, and like the lighthouse, and I was getting used to a new inking technique too. One of the biggest things I had a problem with is doing this like traditionally wouldn't be as bad, but doing it digitally, I had to get used to inking digitally, and that became something that was hard, like letting go of certain details and knowing when to be like, okay, how do I illustrate a background digitally and stuff like that. But the last piece I was going to show, I think it's this one. So this was, I did this one in July, and this one didn't take nearly as long. It's going to take a second to load because it's a huge PNG file. I work on, these things are like ginormous. Hopefully it picks up. maybe I need to do another one. Let's do a different one. That one's better. This one will take too long. Same group, except we had a new member, Kelia. Played by one of our friends, Willow. This one was fun too. This is based off one of our big fights in the game. So this one didn't take as long to do, but it still took about 3 or 4 days of just kind of working at it, illustrating, and eventually the piece that I'm doing now will look at the same quality, probably even better, because it's been about 4 months. But this one's a lot of fun to do, figuring out that background, figuring out the giant serpent eel. Krong is my favorite character from our D&D group to grow up. Like, Mike's character is just so much fun. Every time I draw, it's just like, oh yeah. I never even liked orcs. I never thought orcs were that cool, but Krong's character, time in and time again, is still my favorite character every time I draw D&D. I don't know. There's just something about warriors and barbarians that every fiber of me is like, nah, I don't like playing those characters. I don't really like drawing in that style of characters, but whenever I draw Mike's character, I'm like, hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I want to illustrate. But yeah, it's become a yearly tradition, and every year it's like trying to just kind of up my game with that kind of stuff and just see where I can take it. This one was challenging for different reasons. It was just doing battle scenes. I just want to get better at that stuff. That's one reason why. It's one reason why I'm doing this. Like, I know I have the skills now to do it. It's just I have to prove that I can do it, so I have to draw them. And those are huge time commitments. But God, it's so much fun, especially like once I get to the coloring phase. That's when like pieces really start coming together. Like the next phase, which I'll do an impromptu stream probably for that. Yeah, that's when it really starts getting in like the minutia of like really phasing out the characters, really inking them out. But the shadow phase and stuff like that is a lot of fun. It's hard, but it's fun. But yeah, I think we're gonna end it here. I think that's good. I'm pretty much done with this piece for tonight. I'll let it gestate for a little bit longer. I'm gonna go get something to eat. Thank you everybody for coming out. Hopefully the quality of the mic and everything was okay. Hopefully I know how to end the stream correctly. Yeah, thank you so much for everyone for being here. Thank you for Strife for rating and bringing all these cool new peeps in. Thank you for everybody who has stuck around for doing it. Yeah, and I'll keep this piece on the back burner since some of you guys have liked it so much, and I'll make sure that I just do this all on stream for this particular piece. But yeah, probably maybe next Wednesday. Either next Wednesday or, I mean, I'll announce it via the Discord for people when I'm going to go ahead and illustrate it more. It might just be an impromptu one thing. It might just be like, hey, I feel like working on this more tomorrow, and it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that, which is 7 o'clock Pacific Standards. But yeah, thank you so much everybody. Thank you for all the donations. Thank you for showing up, and have a good night everybody. Hopefully I picked the right one, and it's credits I think, so here we go.